it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Okay, what we're going to do in this video is something a little bit different. We're going to talk about Jack and Lilly Sullivan, who are these two siblings who've disappeared completely, feels like without trace, from a rural property in Nova Scotia in Canada. And they were apparently at the property, the stepfather, Daniel, and their mother, Malaya, and their child that they've got between them were asleep in the property. And Jack and Lilly literally vanished into thin air, it feels like. So it's quite a long time ago as well now, so that doesn't look very positive, is it? When children disappear like that for a length of time, you know, you can't help but think that the outcome may not be positive. If they've wandered off and some accidents befallen them, or have they been abducted? I mean, there's lots we don't know. We don't know what's happened to them. The police have not named anyone as a suspect or said that they suspect any foul play. But of course, the family have come, you know, as is typical in these kind of cases. The family have come under suspicion. The stepfather, the mother. There's a lot of speculation whizzing around social media and mainstream media. But basically, I think we can safely say at the moment, we don't really know anything concrete. Anyway, Daniel, the stepfather, he made an interview recently on a YouTube channel. And I contacted that. We watched a little bit of it the other day. And the guy's also called Daniel. I contacted him and asked him if I could use that interview for fair use, you know, to react to comment on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this, and then later I'm going to play it as a premiere so you can have your say as well. And as you know, you can say anything you like as long as you're respectful. We have to remember, nobody has been charged. No, you know, we know nothing 100%. So just remember, as always, to be respectful to the family, to each other, and to me. And but you know, yeah, put your theories out there. You know, really, I think we're probably at the point with this case. You know, we can't do anything. We're far away from it, but we can pray for these little ones, and we can give our ideas out and things, because you know, sometimes things come from ideas that people have. I have no doubt that the police as well are probably monitoring what people are saying, etc. And you know, Daniel Martell, the stepfather, he has made quite a few interviews. You know, he's dealing with it in that way. Whereas the mother, Malaya, she's been noticeably absent as far as, you know, making interviews is concerned. I think she's only made one. And of course, is that they, you know, Daniel and Malaya don't seem to be speaking anymore. Anyway, we're going to find out a lot more about that as Daniel talks about it. And, you know, and the one thing that just does seem strange to me, as I say every time I talk about Jack and Lilly, is why Malaya left that property the very next day after they went missing. I don't really understand. You know, surely you'd want to be there when they were found. But anyway, that's just a thought that occurred to me. But, you know, I'm not casting shade on Malaya. I don't know what happened to Jack and Lilly. I have absolutely no idea. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to thank you, my followers, for liking, for subscribing, for watching. Special thank you to my members, of course, and a special thank you to those of you who buy Ko-fis or buy super chats, PayPal me, etc. Thank you so much. Any positive way you contribute to my channel, thank you. Okay, let's get rid of the banner and let's have a look at this YouTube channel. And it's very nice when because I always, if I want to look at someone's videos, for any length of time, I always contact them and ask for permission, because at the end of the day, it's their content. And very kindly, very nice, seemed like a very nice guy, Daniel, as I say, also called Daniel. And this is his YouTube channel. It's called the DT Show. And he very kindly, as I say, responded very quickly, very, what's the word I'm looking, so very generous with his content. And I want to say thank you for that, because, I would never use someone's content and try and pretend it was mine. That's just not something I would do. But, some people are more generous with their content, letting you use their content, than others. And Daniel has very kindly given me permission. So first of all, I just want to say to you, go over to Daniel's channel, the DT Show. You can see it here, I think. I think you can see it, yeah. Give him a like on his video and a subscribe. Very interesting videos on there. I've had a look around, and I'm going to watch some of the others as I go along. When I get, these are the sort of things that you can put them on in the background and listen to them. So this particular interview, I've watched most of it now, but some of it I will be watching new with you. Very good interviewer. I think he asks the right questions without being offensive, or, he's not an aggressive interviewer, but he asks the right questions. He doesn't, how can I put it? Sometimes you see people being interviewed and they don't get asked the difficult questions. I feel with Daniel, as he's interviewing the other Daniel, he does ask the difficult questions as well, but in a polite way. And so all that puts together to make a very good, insightful interview. And, just to say about the other Daniel, about the stepfather, Daniel Martell, he's quite brave putting himself out there. There's various reasons that people appear on podcasts. I mean, he knows that everything he does is going to be scrutinised. He must know that people he will know, because every day he's probably, getting information that people are casting shade on him. And, we'll all have our own views. And I'm going to try and be honest in what I say. I won't be disrespectful to Daniel, but if I find something, I think that's a bit strange, I will say it. I'm not going to pussyfoot around and say, oh yeah, he's definitely, I mean, I don't know Daniel. This is something that I've said before. When you see someone being interviewed, I didn't know Daniel as a person before, so I don't know if his demeanour in this interview is different from how he normally is. So that's difficult. So sometimes people do, when they're nervous, on podcasts or on TV interviews, say what we might think are strange things or act in a strange way. But I do think that when we don't know how they normally are, it's difficult to sort of, cast any aspersions on that or make any comment on that, isn't it? And I'm always struck by the Chris Watts case, the neighbour who played the CCTV back after Shanann went missing, when the police were at the house. He said to the police, didn't he, he's acting weird, because that neighbour knew Chris Watts, knew how he normally was, and he said he's acting strangely. So, but it's difficult for someone like me. I don't know Daniel. I've never met him, never spoken to him. So I don't know how he normally is. So I don't know if whatever his demeanour is in this interview, if it's different from his normal demeanour. So I can make comments, but of course I don't have that pre-knowledge. So just to make that clear, the views that I'm going to put out are mine and mine alone. You don't have to agree with them. I hope, when I release this as a premiere, I hope you'll put your views. But as I say, just not disrespectful, that's all. Put your views, put your opinions. But, I don't want anyone saying, oh, he definitely murdered them or whatever, because we don't know that. So, even when the day ever comes that was true, then we talk about that. At the moment, we're talking about 2 missing children and a concerned stepfather who seems to be very concerned, as far as I can see. I don't have one particular view. I'm completely bewildered by this case, as I'm sure the police are, or they seem to be, though maybe the police have got more information. Hey, we'll see. Okay, so let's start.
And out for you guys tonight. Tonight I'll be interviewing Daniel Martell, the stepfather for Jack and Lilly Sullivan, 2 missing young children out in Nova Scotia in Canada. They went missing back in May of this year, and there's been some new developments here recently. Some cadaver dogs have been in the area searching the location and the property and the surrounding areas of where they believe and suspect.
Yeah, that was very recent, was it? And when we saw that, we were concerned why it had taken so long to bring in the cadaver dogs. Strange, isn't it? Because they did bring in dogs, but they brought in dogs that were trained to follow scents of sort of the light, to find the children. But it has taken a long time to bring in the cadaver dogs, and it's a sad development, isn't it? But it's almost an acknowledgement. Well, they have acknowledged that at the end of the day, Jack and Lilly, it's practically impossible that it could still be alive if they were in that area, because they couldn't have survived all this time on their own. I mean, they're very small children, it's just impossible that they could have got food or water. So if they are in that area, they cannot possibly be alive. It's very sad.
I suspect the kids may have wandered off too. And unfortunately, it seems like, or fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, nothing was found from what I understand. But they are still out there looking. I'm not sure if the cadaver dogs are still in the area, but I know that they're still haven't given up the search for Jack and Lilly. But we do interview Daniel Martell. I want you guys to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Mods, I might need all hands on deck on this one. Let's be civilized, guys.
Yeah.
I've been here recently seeing a lot of people in the comment section saying something to the effect about, one side not letting the other people have an opinion. For one, I have a very small opinion about this case. I'm still very much open-minded about what's going on in this case. And 2,
yeah, and that's what struck me when I first watched this. That's exactly how I feel. I don't have a strong opinion. Sometimes you look at cases. We've only got to remember the Stephen Stearns, Madeline Soto case. It's clear that Stephen Stearns had done something to Madeline, wasn't it? Even before we knew he'd been arrested. We knew, didn't we? Sometimes it's just obvious, isn't it? I don't feel like that with this case. It's very straight. I don't have a clear view. If it turned out tomorrow Malaya had taken the children off somewhere, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it did turn out that Daniel, if you're watching, but what I'm trying to say is I don't have a strong view one way or the other, just the same as this, Daniel. Open-minded. I just don't know what happened to these children. It's very mysterious.
Whether you agree with me or not, if you're going to be rude to either myself, the guest, or other folks in the comment section, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to get blocked. So let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it high level. If you have a difference of an opinion and you want to ask a question or say something of that nature, more than welcome to do so. 100%. Just keep it civil. Keep it high level. Let's be adults. I graduated from high school a few decades ago. I hope everybody who has can keep it can act accordingly and not act like they're in high school anymore. Well, anyways, without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview in its entirety, and then at the end of the interview, I'm going to come back on and I'll answer a few questions. But before, I do want to clarify a few things. There's a few things I do want to clarify. One of the things is that I've also seen in the comment section things about because I dropped a clip and it was talking about the trash bag and how piece of blanket was there. And Daniel has his suspicions, just like everybody else does. Right now, that I don't know if
That's an interesting thing that he said. Yeah, what does Daniel think? What does he think happened? Or can he even say what he really thinks happened? Because Daniel is constrained by, who knows, similar with Sebastian Rogers in that case, Katie and Chris Proudfoot have come in for so much criticism, haven't they? But, there are things that they can't say. There are things that the police know that can't be said. So, Daniel, noticed a couple of times in this interview, Daniel, the stepfather, there's a few times said, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this or not. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want to, he's close to what's happened. So he's got to have an opinion. If it isn't anything to do with him, he's going to have his own theories, isn't he? So, and I did find this interview so interesting because there were things that I didn't know about before. And I thought I knew a lot about this case, but nobody knows more than the people that are actually involved in it, do they?
His suspicions are correct or not. He has some valid points when him and I are talking, but he's very close to this. So
exactly, yeah.
Keep that in mind. And two, like a lot of people were saying, somebody who pulled out the blanket out of the bag. Well, there's only a few people that would have known that the blanket was in there. If this was a double bag or a black bag, not a clear bag, how did the person that took the blanket out of the bag know that there was a blanket in there? My response is, how do we know that they knew the blanket was in the bag? I mean, we're making an assumption there that the person that ripped, if it was a person, I talked to Daniel, asked him how long the trash bag was in the garbage bin, and he said it was in there for over a week. So it could have been torn into by an animal, by a raccoon, by another person, and it could have happened at any point. And even if it was somewhat a part of this crime, if there is a crime, then we have to also understand that there's a good possibility that the person, let's just say, hypothetically, if somebody wandered onto the property and was a thief and was looking through things to steal, to sell, or whatever, and he opens up the trash can, or she opens up the trash can and sees a bag, open it up, pull something out, and it's the blanket. Maybe they hear the kids at that point rip a piece of the blanket off.
Yeah, this blanket is strange, isn't it? The things about the blanket, and this about the trash can, which I didn't know the full circumstances of this. Is it a person that has ripped that trash can, or is it an animal? I don't know if you've ever left a bin bag outside. Cats get in there if they think there's some food in there or whatever. Cats, dogs, I don't know what other animals. So the other thing to remember is this is a very rural property, very, very rural property. Is any person likely to be there looking to steal something? Maybe not. Having said that, although it's rural, it is near a road. But I just feel that if somebody drove up to that property, just similar to the case of Gus Lamont in Australia, the thing about these rural properties are surely you would hear anybody driving up. Or had Jack and Lily walked so far away and got picked up on the road. That's a possibility. But this with the trash can, is it a person that opened up the trash can, or was it an animal, like a raccoon, I think he mentions? Like, I wouldn't think of that because we don't have raccoons here in Spain. But they do have raccoons there, so was it? There's quite a few animals it could be.
Go around the corner and there's something there. I mean, I'm not 100% bought on that. I'm not even 50% bought on that. But I'm just saying, like, if we wanted to kind of talk it out a little bit about the possibilities there, they don't necessarily need to know that that's what was in there when they tore the blanket. It just may have been what was there when they pulled it out. So the other thing is, I know a lot of people are going to jump to like a lot of conclusions. What I ask of you to do is just to keep an open mind and listen to the entire segment.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, there's this part of the story that we're going to talk about where when he arrived back home, where he parked and what vehicle he was using. And I asked him if law enforcement searched the vehicle. He said no. Now, I did some deepening questions and figured out that the vehicle that he had drove back in belonged to Malaya. Malaya had left him shortly after this whole ordeal had occurred, and that the vehicle was towed, and that he has no idea whether or not that vehicle was towed or not. So those things are going to happen in this interview.
Yeah, so that's certainly. So I mean, we knew that Malaya had left him. You know, I'm not sure what the reason is, though. Why? Is it because she felt angry with him that he was somehow responsible for Jack and Lily disappearing? Still think it's strange, you know. This is just my own personal view, and as I say, I'm not trying to cast suspicion on Malaya either. But to me, if my children, you know, were outside in the street here and disappeared, you can't imagine the next day leaving that place. That's all that I would say. But anyway, they, you know, she's got her own reasons, I suppose.
Just keep that in mind, that let's listen to everything and not jump to a conclusion. And maybe perhaps some of us won't put our foots in our mouth. But without further ado, I'm going to bring up the interview now. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. You guys know what to do. And here it is.
Everybody, welcome to the show. Daniel Martell, the stepfather for Lily and Jack. Welcome, Daniel. How are you doing, my man? How's it going?
I'm still staying strong there, Daniel. I mean, every day is a new day.
Yeah, I hear you. I know there's been some activity recently. There's been some dogs in the area. They've been doing some searches. I know that that has been on your property. They looked at your property. So I know that there's still movement in the case. Right now, are you confident in where the investigation is going?
It's a little bit different from my point of view versus, you know, the public eye. But right now, I'm fairly happy with what they're doing. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops. I mean, cadaver dogs took a long, or human remains dogs took a long time to come in. But I mean, everything's falling into place like it should. It's just the amount of time that's passed.
Yeah, even he says that there, doesn't he? Even they're both called Dan. Daniel says, you know, the stepfather, it seemed to take a long time for the cadaver dogs to come in. Not sure why that is.
It's just, for some people, it's not fast enough.
Yeah, no, I understand. You know, it's a sad situation. You know, Jack and Lily went missing in May. You know, I couldn't imagine how, you know, you guys were feeling in the moment of.
So in May, my goodness, we're now in October. Long time, isn't it? Very worrying.
Having the kids missing, and then somewhat like the entire world turning against you. How has that been for you guys? Has it kind of calmed down as things gotten worse here recently?
No, Daniel, it never calms down. Some of those Facebook groups, they're absolutely relentless every day.
Yeah, and I mean, it appears to me, at least, you know, when I look through the RCMP documents, I look at what the investigators have done and what they have said flat out, that it sounds like they've cleared you guys. Have they told you guys that specifically, that they do not believe you guys are suspects?
I don't know if I should say this or not, but they came out and told me and Mom privately, like probably almost 3 months ago now, that we know that you guys had nothing to do with it, and we know that you guys have no involvement with the disappearance.
Yeah.
So that's what Daniel's saying, that the police said to him, we know you guys have got nothing to do with it. So now, if that's true and the police have said that, there'd be a reason why they've said it. They won't, you know, unless they're trying to make him relax, you know, and think that he's off the hook, you know. And I'm not saying he did it. I'm just going through the various possibilities. Because he has done a polygraph as well, at least one, and he did pass the polygraph. So we have to remember all this, you know. And the police, they'll have their instincts.
Well,
and it wasn't just one investigator that told us; it was multiple different times privately. So it wasn't just one investigator out of the blue that said it.
And has it always been that way, or was there a moment, maybe perhaps in the beginning, where you felt that that wasn't the case? Maybe perhaps their eyes were on you.
I'm not sure. I think for the first month they were pretty dead set that, you know, we need to investigate Daniel a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, with the amount of,
At the end of the day, being the stepfather, or the father, all the family. You know, in investigations, you start close, don't you, and go outwards. We know enough from doing true crime videos. That's what the police is. You know, most crimes, if you like, if this is a crime, are committed from within the family. That's a very sad fact. From within the family or someone that you know, etc. So yeah, Daniel definitely will have been prime suspect in the beginning, and Malaya, you know, what happened, then it'll be looking at their friends, extended family. That is the way investigations go. And I suppose if you know, hopefully I'm never in that position, but if I ever was, you just want them to get that over with, get that bit over with, so they could get on with finding who was really responsible or what had really happened.
interrogations I did, and with the sheer amount of, well, I mean, I was pretty upfront with everything. I was cooperative with everything, so it kind of made it easier for them too, right? They didn't have to get any warrants. They didn't have to dig for anything. I mean, I handed them my phone. I asked for the polygraphs. I asked for everything.
Yeah, I mean, usually when somebody cooperates as much as you guys have, and law enforcement is looking into it, they're looking at you guys as some form of suspect. And if you're looking at somebody hard enough and you're pulling all the stops and you're not finding something, that's usually because something happened there. So, you know, let's back up. Let's go.
Yeah, you know, if he's cooperated with everything, handed over his phone, you know, all those things, then the police, they'll have checked his phone, they'll have checked it, you know, so they get an idea. You know, I know Stephen Stearns, he handed over his phone, of course, but he had done factory resets on it. So, and he told the police that, didn't he, when he handed over his phone? That must have been an immediate red flag. When he said, "Oh yeah, here's my phone, but I did this factory reset." So the thing is, you can't do any more than that, can you? Is cooperate thoroughly, hand your phone over, let them look at your computers or whatever. I don't know. I suppose the police have been in and searched the house, etc. And it seems like, you know, there has been full cooperation. So, and nothing's been found. No proof of suspicious activity has been found.
Start from the beginning. You know, the kids missed school before their disappearance. A lot of people were looking at that in a suspicious manner. I know that they were seen on camera the day before they disappeared. So the fact that they were missing, as weird as it was, as far as the timing goes, doesn't necessarily mean something nefarious happened. But tell us, why weren't they in class?
Well, I know Wednesday they had what they call a PE day, which is, you know, kind of like an in-service. And so no children attended the school that day. And then on Thursday, Lily had a cough. And I really didn't know if Malaya was going to keep them home for Friday, but, you know, kind of turns out that she did. And when I woke up that morning, like, I wasn't expecting the kids to be home. I seen Lily poke her head into the room a couple times that morning.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a cough. She wasn't sick. Not like.
Yeah, now he says, and again, you know, this is what he says, so we just have to take it at face value until it's proved otherwise, that he didn't know the children were going to be off on that day. And we know that Malaya, wasn't it around 6:30 in the morning that she put the email in to report that they wouldn't be into school? Very early, very, very early anyway. And now he's saying he didn't know, but he saw the. Now this is significant later, I think, that he said he saw Lily put her head around the door a couple of times. I think that's sort of significant in a way, because later on in this interview, he does say that he wouldn't have woken up if Malaya got up, because he was sleeping, but he noticed Lily coming in the room. So these are just little things, that to me, as I say, I'm not trying to cast shade on Daniel. I'm just trying to bring up things that strike me as anomalies. Some people are very heavy sleepers, aren't they? And don't notice anything going on around them. I'm the complete opposite. If I'd only have to hear a slight noise and that's it, I'd be awake. I would find it very difficult to sleep through somebody getting up. So if I was, in bed with my partner and they got up, I would notice. Definitely, 100%, I would notice. But Daniel says he didn't, but he did notice Lily putting her head around the door a couple of times. So,
like the day before. So, I wouldn't really have kept them home because they were kept home a lot because they were sick a lot during the school year. But
allergies, or is this like?
No, they just had low immune systems, Daniel.
Okay.
I mean, for like the first, I don't know, like 11 weeks of school, they were sick each week. Not they brought home COVID and stuff like that. Well, but you can't expect a kid to be perfectly healthy when they're hanging out with other children, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so
children do get ill, don't they? At the end of the day, because they're with other children and germs fly around, and children get ill on a regular basis, don't they? I don't know about every week, but they do get ill on a regular basis.
It sounds like she was pretty bad the day before she went missing on Thursday.
Yeah, she did have a cough, but I was never expecting Malaya to keep them home for both days.
And so that was Malaya's decision then to keep.
Yeah, of course. She woke up that morning on the morning of the disappearance and marked Jack and Lily both as absent at 6:17 and 6:18 a.m.
Good deal. And so the last time that
very early, that isn't it, to mark them as absent. We talked about this in another video. I don't know what time they started school, but normally you wouldn't realise your children were so poorly until they got up. Would they have been up at 6 o'clock? Maybe so. Maybe they were early risers, but it does seem early.
Their scene is on camera the day before. What happened the night after?
Oh, sorry. And just one more thing that I just want to say. It seems strange you wouldn't discuss that with your partner. I mean, I know Daniel's not the biological father, but at the end of the day, he was their stepfather. They lived there like family. Would you not discuss it with them? Maybe he was asleep and she couldn't. I don't know. But yeah, just, there's been no discussion of keeping off the kids.
They're seen on camera. What was that night like?
The night they were seen on camera, they were seen on Thursday. They were seen at Dollarama. And then we went to Acropole. We got some food and then brought it home. When we got home, it was a little bit before 4 o'clock. And I went outside and I helped Mom work on the fence. It took me a little while to find all my tools and stuff. But then, after I got my drill and everything else, and I helped Mom work on the fence for quite a few hours until it was just coming on to dark. And then after it was dark, I came back inside. What I remember, the kids were sleeping. But when you're looking back in time, Daniel, it's hard to, kind of remember everything and get a feeling for how the night really was, because it just seemed like a normal night, right? When I came inside, I thought the kids were sleeping, and I could have swore they were sleeping. But it says in the documents that she had them up till 9 or 10 at night. I don't.
Yes, so there's a few discrepancies here, because he's saying, it took him a while to find his tools, and then he went and helped his mum put a fence up or whatever. He came in as it was, after it was dark, and the kids were already sleeping. But did they not come to say goodnight to him or anything? Because, again, these are just little things that sort of bug me a little bit, because in my experience, children want to say goodnight, don't they? And it wasn't as if he was miles away. He was just, he was on the property, and wouldn't Malaya or maybe send him a message and say, oh, come and say goodnight, the kids are off to bed now. You feel like there's not much communication, if you like, between this couple as far as the parenting's concerned. That's just something, but that just might be the way they were. We're all different.
I remember them being up that late, so I'll tell you that.
Were you looking at your phone or your watch at what time it was every
Yeah.
few
I mean, I got a watch on my arm the whole time, and I never look at it, man. I'm always grabbing for my phone.
It's not uncommon unless you're like something specifically happens and you look at the time at that specific time. I know a lot of people are looking at, certain times where, I think they were asleep by 9:30 and then documents say 10 and like, oh my God, there's 30 minutes here that
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a wild expectation for people to expect to remember things, especially on, like you mentioned, on a night that was pretty normal. But that night, what time did you go to bed?
I went to bed actually a lot later than Malaya did, I think. Like Malaya was already asleep when I came into bed. I remember flicking on the light for the kids at 12 at night, or a little bit after 12, so a little bit after midnight, and both of the kids were fast asleep under the covers. So, but I never get a chance to see what clothing they were wearing because the blankets were up on them, right?
So he flicked on the light to check on the kids, and they were both there asleep, but you didn't get a chance to see what clothes they were wearing. Anyway, Malaya was already in bed, according to Daniel. That was quite late for the kids to go to bed, is it? Or is it just me? What time? I'm not from Nova Scotia, so I don't know. Like in Spain, that wouldn't be that late. Here in Spain, the children do go to bed late, even if they have got school in the morning. But anyone who's watching this, any of my viewers watching from the UK or other countries will know. I mean, let me know in comments. What time do children normally go to bed in your country? And it's all very conditional on sort of climate and seasons and things. In the UK, it'd be 7 o'clock. Those kids at the latest would be in bed, I would imagine, maybe 8 at a push. But to go to bed at sort of 10 o'clock, that's quite unusual, I think, in a lot of places, but maybe not in Nova Scotia. So if anybody knows that part of the world, as I say, in Spain, God, the kids here in Spain, they're normally up after me. I'm normally going to bed and I can hear the kids still playing out. But that's because it's a hot country and the kids, not so much in the winter, but they're still, I bet they don't go to bed before 10 here in Spain, even in the winter. So let me know what you think.
Did you see the backpack?
I don't remember the backpack, the strawberry backpack, but that was always in Lily's room, right?
Okay.
Like that was always in Lily's room. Like she never took it out of there, right? That was her backpack it wasn't a school backpack. I know a lot of people think that, but she actually had a pink LOL doll, like for school, and that was her. And the backpack she ended up taking was the one that we bought for when she took to her grandmother's, right? Which would be Cindy Murray.
So when she goes on trips, this was the backpack for trips.
Yeah. She didn't take her school backpack. She took her one that she takes on trips.
Interesting.
Trips or overnight trips or to go to visit. She would use that backpack.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what's the layout of the house look like? So
the layout of the house is we have the bedroom at the very end.
Okay.
And then we have Lily and Jack's room and my other kid's bedroom and the bathroom and the kitchen and the living room.
Okay.
So
how many bedrooms is that?
3 bedroom.
3 bedrooms. And I know some people have asked, like, Lily and Jack, they shared a bedroom. Was there a reason why one wasn't in one room and one wasn't in the other?
Well, my other kids are in the other bedroom. I mean, it really didn't matter if but I know my daughter Raina and Arlo, they like to be in the same bedroom and they like to play together, right?
Yeah.
So, and it was different. It was a lot different from my other 2 kids, not having like any other kids involved, like with me and being a family before this, right? So it was kind of new to them. It was kind of new to Lily and Jack as well, especially with the new baby coming in too. So it was a little bit different for everybody.
And so your other children, they weren't there that night, correct?
No, they weren't. They were there the weekend prior.
So relative to where Jack and Lily's bedroom is to where you guys sleep, how close?
So Daniel has 2 other children who stay there as well. So Jack and Lily shared a bedroom, and his 2 children shared a bedroom when they were there, and then their bedroom, Daniel, Malaya, and the baby would sleep in. So, it's interesting to hear. Now, of course, they were young. They were only little. Jack, sorry, I shouldn't say were. They're only little. I think 4 and 6, aren't they? So wouldn't matter about them sharing a room at that age. I mean, that would get complicated as they got older, of course. Neither of them would want to share a bedroom with the other, with a boy. Lily wouldn't want to share a bedroom with a boy. And Jack wouldn't want to share a bedroom with a girl. So anyway, but at this point in time, at the ages that they were, didn't matter. So it's fine them sharing a room, I think.
Close is that? Is that?
Yeah, it's actually the next bedroom. It's actually the next bedroom over.
And you guys mentioned that you guys could hear them throughout the morning. Is that correct?
Yes, I actually did hear. I know when it says in the documents that we heard them in the next room over, like in their bedroom. I didn't hear them in their bedroom. I heard when Lily would pop in. I heard Jack in the kitchen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I heard him rustling around in the kitchen, right? But then when me and Malaya made our way out to the kitchen, there was nothing moved. The chairs were still perfectly in place. There was no chairs pulled up against the counter for them to, they usually would jump up and take food if they wanted, because kids always do that, right? They would go into the fridge. They would go into the other pantry and grab food if they wanted. Like, they had unlimited food if they wanted to grab it. And, they would go into the fridge, take yogurt cups and eat them, or cereal or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but nothing was moved, Daniel. Nothing was moved.
And now they're being loud-ish. You mean loud enough for you guys to hear them?
That's strange, isn't it? So he says that he could hear them in the kitchen, but nothing was moved in the kitchen. So you know what kids like. They would get up, get a yogurt, get a cereal or whatever. But he's insistent that nothing was moved. Strange.
Your other daughter, Meadow, she was there though, right?
Yeah, she was actually laying beside me with Malaya.
Did you guys ever, or did Malaya ever tell the kids to be quiet? Were they ever waking up Meadow at any point with their noise?
In that morning, no. But when Lily poked in, I did go, shh. Like when she would come in the room because she always woke up Meadow. Same with Jack, but I mean that's what kids do too, right?
Yeah. And so, some folks are saying that, they may have walked out the back sliding glass door. That seems like the only logical explanation for them to have exited the house. You had something on the front door, correct?
Yeah, on the front porch, there's the front porch door, and then there's the inner door on the front. And I know for 100% they did not go out through that door. So, because when I went and got the keys and tried to come back into the house, couldn't get into the front door, right? I had to go around from the back. And then I went out through the front door.
Gotcha.
So that's how I know they did not exit through the front. They exited out through the back sliding glass door.
Now, I've read in the documents that Malaya said something to the effect that the kids didn't always close the door behind them when they went outside. It kind of made it seem like there was times that they did. Is that accurate, or was that something that when they went outside?
The percentage that they would actually close the door behind them, it's very minimal.
But they haven't done it in the past, though, correct?
It's usually, Daniel, even I don't close the door all the way sometimes.
Oh, okay. And so it was all the way shut.
Yeah, it was all the way shut. Fully all the way shut.
That is weird.
So, and and some of the investigators, when they were here, they came all the way down to the bedroom, sat on the bed, and we had a dead quiet. And they tried to open up the door. Well, I think it was Mom who went out there and opened and just closed the door, and you couldn't hear it from inside the bedroom, sitting on the bed with the bedroom door shut.
Yeah.
So.
It's very mysterious, isn't it? So did somebody open the door and come in and get Jack and Lily, or did Jack and Lily manage to open the door quietly? Whichever door that they decided to go out from. The thing is, it seems like they were awake, because if he shushed Lily when she came in, he wasn't asleep then, was he? If he noticed Lily going in and shushed her.
Is the door heavy?
It is heavy, but when the kids got their hands on it, they would have to put both hands on it and they could slide it closed.
Okay.
So it is possible for them to close it. They just need to, work at closing it.
Now, so you wake up because there's been some time that you guys haven't heard the kids anymore, correct?
I woke up when Malaya woke me up. I'm pretty sure it was her who woke me up, because we both kind of woke up at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I remember her saying, as it says in the documents, she said, I don't hear them. But
sorry, it's just this little thing. It's bugging me a little bit. I can't get, because he's saying we woke up, but they were awake, because he was awake enough to shush Lily. So, and then, do you know what? Sometimes you don't really remember, maybe if you're half asleep, I'm just not that sort of person where I would be awake. That's it. As soon as those children were awake, that's it. I would be awake. That's just the way I am. But they apparently were in the bed with Meadow, the little one, sleeping. So, did they not have a conversation? Did he not say to her when he shushed Lily? Did he not say to Malaya, have you decided to keep the kids off school again? What conversation did they have about the kids being off school?
The craziest thing was when I woke up, it was in the first 5 seconds that she said, I don't hear them. And usually you would have to wait a couple seconds, you know what I mean? Or 30 seconds or something like that, because it could be in the fridge, because that's usually what everything goes quiet when they're, grabbing food or doing something, right?
Yeah. And so she wakes you up. Would you have noticed?
Well, I think she woke me up, right? We kind of woke up at the same time, but I really don't know.
Would you have noticed if she got out of bed?
No, I would have been sleeping. I didn't even know she called the kids in absent until I got the email on my phone.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry, but I'm right there. He said Lily popped her head in. He told Lily to shush. Now when the other Daniel is asking him, would you have noticed if Malaya got up? No, because I was asleep. So that is a little bit contradictory, isn't it? I'm just pointing out that is contradictory. Either you were asleep, in which case, how come you were awake to shush Lily, etc., or you weren't asleep? I don't see how you could be both.
Well, I mean, you woke up when Lily popped.
Oh, he's going to mention it now. So let me know what you think. I'm not trying to pick holes in what he says. I'm just pointing out something that strikes me as a little bit contradictory.
Your head in, right? So you were.
Yes, I did. Because there's a lock on the door, right?
Yeah.
And I heard like the lock rattle.
So do you think though that in the time that Lily popped her head in, and that woke you up, it alerted you a little bit, and the time that you fully woke up, do you think you would have been able to tell? Would you have the ability to tell whether or not Malaya got out of bed?
I don't know. Do you want to say that over again for me so I get I was just plugging in my phone, so I didn't hear you correctly.
No problem. So if you already have been woken up, Lily's popping in, so you've already woken up to a certain extent, maybe not fully awakened, but you've woken up to the point where you've acknowledged that the child has come in and out. Do you think in that moment, maybe not earlier, maybe not early in the morning, but from the moment that you were awoken, from the time that Lily popped her head in to the time that you were fully awake, do you think that Malaya could have gotten out of bed without you noticing?
I think she could have, but you have to remember too, the baby was laying on her arm as well.
Oh,
so like the baby was sleeping on top of her right arm.
So it's unlikely that she got out of bed.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but it is possible. I mean, anything's possible, but I think Meadow may have be woken up when she's actually moving.
Gotcha.
But it is possible, Daniel. I mean, anything's possible. This case is just an absolute circus, so anything's possible.
And so
now, I just want to point out there again, I'm not trying deliberately to pick holes in what Daniel says, but the way he says this case is a complete circus, I don't know, it seemed a funny thing to me. So when it's your family, is it a case? I would call it a case because, I report on these cases. Just an odd turn of phrase, that's all. This case is an absolute circus. Seems a detachment there. Anyway, just an observation.
So she wakes up, you wake up. What's the first thing that you do?
First thing I do when I wake up is, Malaya's right beside me, and she says, "You like hear the kids?" And then I listen for a few seconds. I said, "No, I don't hear them." So first thing I do is when I don't hear them, I get up and I, get dressed, and
yeah, because didn't he say that it was Malaya who said that immediately, I don't hear them. And now he's saying, she said to him, do you hear the kids? And he said, I don't hear them. And he said, what I do when I can't hear the kids is I get up. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into the way he's saying it. It's hard to remember exactly how things happened, I suppose.
Me and her make our way out to the kitchen. And this thing I still find odd to this day, I told investigators this, is Malaya didn't look in Jack and Lily's room when we walked to the kitchen, right?
Okay.
So I found that odd because we both walked up together up the hallway to the kitchen. And then I poked my head I looked into the living room, didn't see the kids. I ran back to the room, looked underneath their beds and stuff, didn't see them. So then we made our way outside, right? Malaya stood in the kitchen when I was running like a moron through the house looking for the kids. And we made our way outside. You know, we got through the fence, and then we're standing right in front of Mom's RV, and
Yeah, running through the house like a moron. I think maybe it's just the way Daniel speaks. As I say, I don't know Daniel in, normal times. So it's hard to think, is this a strange way that he's speaking, or is this how he just always speaks? I think that's a funny thing to say, running through the house like a moron. I don't know. It's odd, but it just might be Daniel's way of speaking.
she asked me, should I call 911? Right? That's, kind of instinctual. You want to do that, right?
Right.
Because we don't hear them out in the yard. We never seen them in the house. We don't see them in the backyard. I didn't know if Mom was even home or not, right? Because I thought she might have went with my Uncle Ron.
Mm-hmm.
So she's on the phone with 911. I run up into the woods where the cabins are and look in the cabins, look around the area. Didn't see them. I'm screaming and yelling, Lilly and Jack, Lilly and Jack, Lilly and Jack. And then I make my way down. There's a hill behind Mom's RV. I make my way down, and Malaya's standing there. I'm not sure if she's still on the phone with 911. She might have been on speakerphone. It looks like she was messaging, but she might have been on speakerphone with the dispatch. And so I say, I'm jumping in the car. So I ran inside. I tried to go into the front door. Door's locked. Ran through the back door, the back sliding door, got into the house, grabbed the keys off the end table, because there was 2 sets of keys, right? And then I didn't take my phone. Well, I don't remember taking my phone because there's no service out there anyway, not like I can use it. So I left my phone on the end table. I'm pretty sure I left it on the end table. Investigators would know that for 100%. So grab the keys, ran up to the Nissan Pathfinder, and that's when I started to search the dirt roads and the culverts, right? So I went up Lansdowne Road, and I already told investigators this, but that blanket was not there in that tree.
Which direction were you
heading? That would be when I'm coming out the end of the driveway, and I'm going right.
Yeah, so he says that when he went out, the blanket that was eventually found in the tree was not there in the tree. So is he trying to say that that's like a decoy thing? I don't know. I expect it was all a bit of a chaos.
Toward Lansdowne Road, over the tracks, and then hanging a hard right.
So you were coming the direction that would have been visible to you, and you didn't see it.
Yeah. I'd be going. Right at the end of the driveway. I take a right. I'm going up the road.
Across the railroad tracks, and then the right up of the dirt road.
Yeah, that's Lansdowne Road where the blanket was found.
All right. So when you're running around and as you're going outside and you're looking, that gate outside, is it always open? Was it unlocked? Was it locked?
Sometimes it's open.
Was it open that morning?
I do not remember that. I don't remember I don't remember.
Okay. And so you come around.
It's not hard. It's not hard to open up gates anyway. They're just slide. Like, I always forget to close. My mom always reminds me, but they're just a slide and bolt lock, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing hard about those locks at all.
Well, maybe not, but I'm just kind of curious because if you can unlock it and open it, but if you're on the other side of the fence and you're small, can you reclose it?
Yeah, you can. You can. All you do is just pull the fence close to you and then close it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so there may not be a clue there. So you're out there.
So it seems like the gate, to stop people coming in the property, it wasn't difficult to get in if somebody would have wanted to get in there.
Searching in the woods. How long before law enforcement arrived?
I was told 12 minutes.
Okay.
But then when I looked at the documentation and, asked questions and dug further, it was 22 minutes, I do believe.
And were you at the house when they arrived?
I was actually, when they were arriving, I was actually coming back to the house in the car. And I couldn't park in the driveway because RCMP just stopped in the yard, right?
Okay.
Because they were just starting to walk down and talk to Malaya. So what I did is I parked the white Nissan Pathfinder, because that's the car Malaya owns, the 2017 Nissan white Pathfinder. And I parked over on the right-hand side of the marsh, going toward Lansdowne Road. There's a marsh that's right beside the house there. Probably can pull that up on the map. There's a little driveway that's right beside it. It's about 100 feet from the house.
Okay. Around here?
Yeah, that's actually the marsh, and there's a little driveway right on the left-hand side right there. Yep. That's where I parked in the white Nissan Pathfinder.
You know, I think when you mentioned marsh, and I know there's water near that always gives you the creeps a bit, doesn't it? Marshes and children and water, and you know, how far did these children go? Did they just wander off and go too far? But would they have if they were ill as well? Because don't forget, they were ill. They were kept off school. So would they have really felt like doing all that wandering? I feel that the younger one, Jack, he would have followed Lily, probably. If it, you know, why would they have wandered off? I don't see why they would have wandered off. What do you all think about that? Do you think, why would they have wandered off? You know? Anyway, I hope, you know, the idea of there being water there and marshes and stuff like that is a horrible thought, isn't it?
Okay.
And then when I jumped out of the car, the RCMP yelled at me from in the yard, right? Because they could see me clearly.
Yeah.
And they said, Daniel, don't go back into the woods. So at that point, I didn't go back into the woods. I walked over to the house and I went down and I was talking to my mother because the RCMP just, you know, officers just swarmed Malaya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they asked you to stay there. They asked her to stay there. Did they look into your Pathfinder or the Pathfinder? Did they search it?
No, they didn't at all. No.
At any point?
Not that I know of.
Now, was this the vehicle that went with Malaya? Like, I think it was towed later.
Yeah, it was actually towed by Commander of Operations. The guy's name is Josh. And he was actually pretty pissed about where they left it. They left it right at the bottom of Lansdowne Road when they left.
Interesting. And so,
yeah. So he was pretty pissed about it. He said what he said is that goddamn fucking vehicle's always in the way of the search vehicles, right?
Oh God.
So he said he's like, I had it towed out of here. It was White River Towing or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about where it was left because they use it.
He gives a lot of details, doesn't he, Daniel? You know, the devil's in the detail, isn't it? He gives a lot of details out that maybe aren't necessary to give, but he does. So, you know, that's good. Maybe he's just being transparent, but yeah, a lot of details.
That road quite a bit.
And you don't, I mean, when it was towed, were you still in communication with Malaya?
No.
Okay.
And my wallet was left in the car when it was towed. And then when I got my wallet back, everything was taken out except for my actual important stuff, like my driver's license, my bank card, my health card. All that stuff was still in there, but all the other stuff was taken.
Interesting. And did the investigators ever tell you that they didn't search it?
No, they didn't.
Okay, so there's a possibility that they searched it and just you're just not aware of it.
That is true. That could be true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he said they didn't search the car, and you'd think that'd be the first thing really that they would do. They would search it. Now, he says that by then he wasn't in contact with Malaya. I don't know if during this interview it comes out why did that happen. You know, 1 minute he's in bed with Malaya and the baby Meadow, kids are playing, and then by the next day Malaya's left that area. Why would, and they're not in contact anymore? There's got to be a reason for that. You know, you don't just leave your partner, certainly not as well when your kids have gone missing on their property, and you just leave and don't, you know, you would want to be there when those kids were found. That is the oddest thing in this case to me, why Malaya left so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they can't tell me everything, so.
Right. And it is her vehicle, so I'm not sure if they would come out and say, hey, we searched her vehicle to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they tell me lots of things, but it's just some things they don't.
Well, I'll ask you this. Did they search your other vehicles on the property?
I'm not totally sure. For the first couple of days, like I wasn't at the house, but I imagine they did.
Okay. Well, I would imagine that they would have. That would have been a really big oversight to not do that. And I'm
So where was he if he wasn't at the house for the first couple of days? Just as a matter of interest, where was he, I wonder?
my assumption is just an assumption that the reason you don't know about it obviously is because, well, Malaya and you weren't talking. So at this point, you arrive, officers are talking to Malaya. How long before the search team gets there?
The search team was actually fairly quickly. They actually had the command center and everything set up pretty fast. They had a lot of different, I don't know what you would call them, search teams or dispatchments of different units. There's 23 different search organizations or search teams in Nova Scotia from each area. They have a total of 23.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if all 23 made it here, but there was some from the South Shore. I mean, a lot from all over Nova Scotia. And they had the Nova Scotia Guard called in. And the first helicopter arrived on scene within the first hour and a half, which was, I do believe I was told that's a record for making the first helicopter to a search.
That is pretty impressive, an hour and a half. And the dogs.
But they had drones out. They had drones out much quicker than that. They had drones up within the first 30 to 40 minutes, I think.
Oh, that's good.
And how long before the dogs got there?
The dogs came much later. They were there that day, but for the first, I don't know when the dogs actually showed up, but for the first few hours there was no dogs. There was no dogs in the New Glasgow area. We don't even have a canine unit in New Glasgow right now, like in Pictou County. So and Major Crimes told me that. They said that we don't have a canine unit in Pictou County anymore.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the resources are coming from northeastern Major Crimes, which is the Truro area.
Understood.
Like 45 minutes to an hour away.
So it did take them some time to get out.
Yeah, but we had the best search dogs in the province at the house. They belong to Halifax Search and Rescue.
Good deal. And so you weren't allowed to go into the woods. Where were you at during this time?
I was actually back by Mom's RV talking to her, and we were wondering why we couldn't go back into the woods. And then a number of minutes passed. I'd say about 10 to 15 minutes passed, and a guy in military gear, it said Oliver on the back of his on his shirt or vest or whatever you want to refer to it as, or uniform, we'll call it.
Yeah.
He actually said, Daniel, you can go back into the woods. And I actually believe he was later on. He was a canine handler, but I don't know if the dog was there yet at that point.
Understood.
Because I remember seeing him with a canine unit, I'm pretty sure, later on in the search.
And so you were allowed to go back in the woods?
Yeah. And then I immediately jumped the fence and I was right back into the woods, and I did all the streams that were up behind the house that lead into that little marsh that's actually to the left of the house, which you showed.
Now, I don't know how true this is. I've heard rumors of this, that at some point you heard a scream and you thought it sounded like the kids. When was
that? That was later on. That was that would have been, it was still on that same stream.
Well, I'd never heard that before, so heard a scream later on.
Same path when I was walking up through the woods. Okay. I thought I heard a scream, but you have to remember, I had a helicopter right above me. There was drones. There was already people searching at this point. So I don't know if it was actually a child scream or not, but it did sound like a scream, but it could have been somebody yelling for the kids, right?
That's possible too. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
But it was so hard to tell because the way the helicopter was going, it was going slow and doing. I was like, I almost swear I could feel like the rotor wash that was coming down off of the wind, because sometimes they would go pretty low because the vegetation was pretty dense, because a lot of it's not hardwood, so there's no leaves, right? It's evergreen, so you have trees that are full of needles, so it's much more hard to get a good view from a helicopter through that stuff.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it being very difficult. At any point that first day, did they question you guys at all, as far as maybe perhaps?
Yeah, I actually sat in my mother's vehicle, and Commander of Operations came down from the command center, and me and him sat in there, and we went over some of the stuff we're going over right now. Did you know the kids are going to be home from school that day? Would you have kept the kids home from school that day? What happened in the morning? Did you see the kids that morning? There's a lot of the similar questions you're asking me now.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine so. And that happened that first day. So nighttime comes in. Around what time does the search stop on the first day?
The search doesn't stop on the first day. They go right through the night.
Interesting. And when are you notified about a blanket?
So they went right through the night. Bless. They certainly tried to find these kids. So, let me know what you're thinking about that scream that he mentioned. That he's not certain was a scream, but do you think that's likely, or do you think it was just maybe someone shouting for the kids? Like I said, it's a possibility. This is the weirdest, I've got to say. This is one of the weirdest cases I've ever looked at. But, yeah. Surely if they were close by, they would have been found if they were searched, for so thoroughly, and with the helicopters and with the dogs and with everything. Surely those kids would have been found that first day.
If we're referring to the blanket that was up in the tree, or just the blanket in general.
Well, let's rewind then. So there's been a lot of confusion that you had denied that the blanket in the tree was Lily's that ended up being Lily's. Was there another blanket that was found out there?
There is actually another blanket. There's a full pink blanket. I was shown a picture of it, splayed out on the ground. Officer Karen Mason showed me that. She was involved in quite a bit of the, just back and forth stuff between the command center and me and Malaya and Mom and, some of the people involved, and just trying to relay information, keep us up to date and stuff like that.
So just to make it clear, actually, and perhaps I should have done earlier, though I'm sure a lot of you know already, this is him and his mum's property. Malaya has gone because, the reason she's left rather than him, this is it's their property. I presume it's his mum's property. Maybe it's his property. His mum's got like a trailer, I presume, in the grounds or whatever. So Malaya apparently went off to see her mum when all this happened. But as I say, odd that she just left that area so quickly, without waiting to see if her kids would be found within the next couple of days. But maybe her and Daniel had an altercation. I'd like to know why she left. I really don't know. Does anybody know?
And this pink blanket that they found, was it something that they found close to the house? Or?
I'm not sure the location where it was found. There was a pink blanket. There was a water bottle. There was a children's T-shirt. And there may have been a sock or socks too, showing me as well. But none of them belonged to Lily's, right? I mean, none of them were Lily's. None of them were Jack's.
Do you know if all those items were found at the same place, or were they found throughout?
I'm not sure where they were found. I was just told that, are any of these items Lily and Jack's? We found.
I wonder whose they were. It just seems like people are leaving their possessions. So I don't know exactly how far away those items were found, but whose were they?
Found them during the search.
Were they photographed together?
No, they were not photographed. They were photographed individually.
Okay, so most likely then they were not found together.
Yeah.
And
so that's interesting. He seems to have some knowledge of that. So if they weren't photographed together, maybe they weren't found together.
Around what time was this blanket, the full one that didn't belong to them? When was that one found?
That was found, it would have been during the daytime. So because I remember I was actually standing on the front deck when she brought her phone up to show me. So that would have been sometime during the day. So I'm saying between noon and 4 p.m. probably.
So 4 is when they found the pink blanket that was Lily's. That was a portion of the blanket, correct?
Yeah. I'm not sure on the exact time on that either. It would have to be after 4 because the school bus goes up there around 4 o'clock.
Gotcha. And
because that school bus, it goes up and it actually goes up and turns on my Uncle Ron's house, which is about 500 feet past where the blanket was found.
Gotcha.
So, and the bus usually goes up there, and the bus usually makes its way up there around I don't know, 3:55, between 3:55 and like 4 o'clock.
And this bus has cameras, correct?
Yeah, the buses do have cameras. When they looked at the footage from the outside of the buses, the blanket was not there.
Interesting. And it went both directions, correct? It went.
Yeah, they both go both directions. They have multiple buses.
And it was not seen at 3:55, 4 o'clock when the bus passed.
No, they said they did not see it on any camera footage from the buses.
So that's odd, isn't it? So what, somebody planted that blanket there? The blanket wasn't seen on the bus footage. How's it got there then afterwards? Has somebody been planting something? Oh, it really is a complete mystery, isn't it, this? Now, I noticed that Daniel's got a lot better memory now when he's talking about things. He couldn't remember what really happened that morning, but I suppose that's because that was a routine day. I'm just trying to think if somebody said to me, right, last Thursday, what time did you get up? What time did you take the dogs out? Because I don't take them at the same time every morning. What time did you have your breakfast? I don't have my breakfast. It would be difficult, wouldn't it, for a normal day to think what actually you did or didn't do, and who you saw out of the people that live in your house. It'd be difficult. It would be difficult to recall routines, because you get so much into your routine. But as I say, the only thing that strikes me as strange that Daniel had said that he was asleep, but he remembers Lily coming in, though he explained that by saying there was a lock on the door and the noise of the lock woke him up. Whereas he wouldn't have woke up if Malaya got up, he said. Anyway.
So
that is, how far is the search command from where the blanket was found?
From the piece of Lily's blanket that was found in the tree, the actual command center itself.
Yeah.
It is okay. When you look at Lansdowne Station Road on the map, I'll just wait for you here to set that up, and then we can take a look.
Yeah,
I'll give you the exact location.
So here is. Do you see it?
Yeah. So that is. So Lansdowne Station Road. As soon as you're going up Lansdowne Station Road, you go across a little bridge.
It's this direction.
This
direction. Okay.
Yeah. So Lansdowne Station Road. There you go over a little tiny bridge.
Okay.
I don't know.
Have I gone too far?
Yeah. It goes right on Lansdowne Station Road. There's a little bridge when you're going down, and then you see. When you're seeing right around that turn there, that's where it is. You just headed on it. Right past that little dirt road there, that little gravel pit dirt road. Yeah.
Why? I'm just curious, but why would they make command so far south of where you guys live? Did they say anything about that by any chance?
I'm not sure the actual reasoning for making it there. I know it's a road that's they had a long stretch.
I'm just something that occurred to me there while watching that. I can't see how Jack and Lily can have gone really, really far. Not the size of him, and I just don't believe that they would have gone far. So my personal opinion is either something's befallen them much closer to the property, or they've been abducted, or, it's something to do with Daniel or Malaya. But I don't believe for a minute that those children have gone all that length of all that distance. I just don't believe it, how it could be. But anyway, let me know what you think.
Going down that hill, going to the command center, so everyone could park their cars, because there was hundreds of cars there, Daniel.
Now,
search vehicles. They had to move in, RCMP SUVs and everything, right?
So how long after law enforcement arrived at 1027 did the command post get set up? Was that like the first thing that happened?
I'm not sure. I was actually in the woods for a lot of that, Daniel. So I don't have like a clear time that was set up. Clear time that I could say the setup like began or was completed.
So around what time were you notified, and how were you notified about the pink blanket that belonged to Lilly?
The pink blanket that belonged to Lilly, I wasn't notified at all about that. I was actually told there was a piece of a pink blanket that was found up the road in a tree, and I said, "Piece of a pink blanket?" Like, and I put two and two together. I ran out to the garbage bin, and I seen that there was a hole ripped in the bag, and clearly there was somebody who went into the garbage or something went on with the garbage for a piece of that to be ripped out. Because usually when you look in the garbage bin, Daniel, and you see a garbage bag, usually it doesn't have a hand-sized hole ripped in the side of it.
That's interesting. Now, the pink blanket, when they told you about it, did they show you a picture?
A hand-sized hole ripped in it. It's very odd, isn't it? And why would somebody take a little bit of the blanket unless it was a raccoon or an animal?
Sure.
The piece of the blanket? No.
Oh, okay,
No.
so they just told you they found a piece, and you went to the garbage bin. And where in the garbage bin was the bag that had the other part of the blanket? Was it towards the top, in the middle, the bottom?
These were like large industrial sized garbage bags, right?
Okay.
And Mom would always yell at me, don't put so much garbage in one bag, because I would always make the bags like really heavy, right?
Okay.
And so I had the blanket was in a garbage bag, but there was another garbage bag that was inside, right? So it was like double bagged.
Interesting.
And you could see I keep wanting to say a hole that was ripped in the side from a hand that went down inside of it and pulled something out, but it looks.
But how would you know it was from a hand? Do you see what I'm saying? How would you know it was from a hand? It's quite adamant it's a hand. Hand-sized. A hand had gone in and pulled it out. It's very odd, this blanket thing. Now, of course, the police will have that trash bag. They'll have done their DNA results. Maybe there's fingerprints, because, of course, fingerprints go transfer, don't they, to rubbish bags. If whoever it was wore gloves, maybe there'll be nothing on there. But that's really odd, isn't it? I mean, this whole case is odd, but hand-sized, as if somebody had gone down there, he said, and pulled it out. Really odd.
It looked to be like somebody put their hand in there and ripped it out.
Yeah.
But the bag, the blanket was still at the bottom of the bag, right? It wasn't pulled all the way out. It wasn't anything like that. So
was the trash bag in the bottom of the can or on top of like all the other trash?
It was the garbage bag, that one big garbage bag. That was like a 60-pound garbage bag. And it was that was the only bag that was in there.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't any other trash on top?
No, there was nothing else piled on top of it or underneath it.
So if somebody opened the bin, that's the first.
So how have they got part of the blanket? If it's not an animal, I mean, an animal could rip a blanket, I suppose. But to have part of the blanket needs to have either been ripped by scissors or a knife, or, probably if you pulled it, wouldn't be easy to break a piece off. And why would you do it?
Thing that they would see.
Yeah, they would be able to see the pink blanket in there. Yeah.
Okay. And so it seems like in the documents that it alludes that they showed you guys a picture and that you guys confirmed it. Was that, if you didn't see a picture, do you know if Malaya did?
I'm not sure if she did or not. I have no idea. Because I actually wasn't present at the house very much during the search, because I was just out in the woods searching, man.
Understood.
Like I poured my heart and soul into just searching as hard as I could.
I can imagine. And you're out there searching. Did you find out that night, or was it the next day, about the boot prints?
I actually found out, I think it was the next day. And then when I asked investigators when the boot print was found, they told me they weren't sure on the exact time it was found, but they thought it was found during the middle of the night.
Okay. And I know, and I made a mistake, guys, and I want to premise this as was my mistake. I had indicated that this image here was a representation of what they had seen with the bare feet and the footprints. I went back and read my conversation with Daniel, so I just wanted to clarify it. What he said was that this picture, he had problems with it because he couldn't understand why a third person came, but this wasn't something that was shown to him by investigators. Kind of clarify, where did this image come from?
That image originally came from Maritime Happenings. Mom actually received it from Malaya. So Malaya sent it to my mother, and the mom and my brother came home on the ATV from where they were searching.
Now, I feel like I'm missing something here. These are not real. It's not real, surely. Now it's, sorry, but it's not a photo, is it? Or what is it? Just a police dog handler has located a very distinctive set of youth footprints on the national gas pipeline. Now, is this picture saying there's a boot print, a barefoot print, and a normal shoe print? Very odd. So what, did they find prints of 3 people? I don't understand this photo, to be honest. What else was I going to say there? Oh, yeah. So Daniel seems to be on Daniel's mum seems to still be on good terms with Malaya. So that's good. At least, they've still got some contact. Because they have got a child together, though I believe their baby, Meadow, is with social services, but, child protection services. But I think he alludes to that shortly.
To talk to Malaya, see what this photo was about. But it was actually Maritime Happening, which originally posted it. And that came from one of the searchers, I guess.
Understood. So it wasn't something that you saw from the investigators or from the search.
No, it wasn't anything like that.
Did they ever tell you that there was 3 prints?
I don't actually remember that, but that picture always just bugged me. And then even if they did tell me there was 3 prints, like, that doesn't make sense to me, Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, when 2 kids are missing, they don't gain a follower to go missing with.
Right. And here, just to kind of show everybody, this is where the image came from. This is Malaya Brooks, and this was at 10:16 in the morning on May 3rd from Malaya to your mom. Your mom sent me this photo so that we could see that this is where that message came from.
But it's not a photo, though, is it? It's not a photo that was taken at the scene. It's a graphic, surely. Anyway, what was I going to say? Now, he's saying he doesn't remember. These are the don't remember things do worry me a little bit, because when your stepchildren have gone missing like that, I think you would remember everything the police tells you. If the police tell you they found 3 sets of footprints, your ears would prick up immediately. Of course you would remember. I think. What do you think? Let me know what you think about that.
Now, the location of the boot prints, it's near the pipeline, kind of somewhat in the direction of the pink blanket. If we, I wanted to show you this and get your opinion on this. So the blanket was found here. There's a road that leads back up. Now, I kind of just did a line here, but if you follow this road and you just follow this little path here, it gets you on the pipeline. I mean, sure enough, you're right in the middle between that road that they mentioned. Have you gone down this area yourself throughout any point?
No, I haven't. I haven't done any of that area at that point.
At any point? What about now? Like, since they found the boot print and stuff like
that?
Have you ever gone out here? Okay.
No.
Now,
I thought that's a lot of that area was just searched with the human remains dogs. So all that was just done.
The other weird thing about this, though, is this is a dirt road, correct?
Where the piece of the
I do love this interview. He's very crafty with his questions. But so Daniel says he wasn't out there at all. So
Belanca was found?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually called the Gordon Summit Road. That actually used to be an actual road that was used quite a bit, but now over the years it was just used for, they used it for logging. There's cutovers up there and stuff like that.
They didn't find any footprints around here, right? Where the blanket
No,
was?
not that I'm aware of, and that's all fresh gravel.
Yeah, that's so weird, man.
That's all fresh gravel. That whole Lansdowne Road was totally redone. It's all fresh gravel. You would see any footprints that were put on there at that time.
So the second day comes, they tell you about the prints on the about the boot prints.
Mhm.
What do you think about those boot prints? Who do you think they belong to?
I couldn't tell you. There's a lot of kids in the area. That's what I kind of think where they came from. But to find only one boot print, the kids would have had to walk up that hill, and there's a ton of mud there, Daniel. I mean, the incline of that hill and that terrain is not easy for children. Just to walk up from the road to that pipeline would have probably taken over an hour. And by that time, the helicopters would have seen them if they were in the woods.
My only problem with that is if there's mud there and it's muddy, if somebody went out there and planted them, where are their footprints?
That is correct too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the main portion of the mud is actually on that.
Yeah. Where are the footprints of if they were planted? Where are the footprints of the person who planted them? And as I said, I think earlier, unless they smooth down the mud afterwards.
Actual 4-wheeler trail that's on the pipeline. All the rest of the pipeline, for 90% of it, it's all just moss and moss and just, grass or a marshy type grass. But still, if you're walking along that, your footprints would have left indentations in the grass.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, especially if it's an adult, that's going out there that's heavier than these kids.
Yeah.
You would assume that they would have left some indentions as well. Now, this says here that a police dog handler located a set of footprints. Do you know if that's true? Like, how did they come across the footprints, in your opinion?
I actually heard the footprints were actually found during the middle of the night, and they actually had an untrained bloodhound up in that area. I'm not sure if that's what they're referring to by police dog handler or not, because there were so many dogs out there.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so when is the first?
But they did tell me they exhausted that whole area. They sent so many searchers in. They sent the dogs in. They exhausted that area for multiple days.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people might say, oh, well, this is going to your uncle's house. Maybe you planted them. I find it weird. I don't understand why somebody would plant evidence that's leading to the direction of a.
I've never actually seen the actual location of the footprint in real life.
Yeah.
So I told investigators this, and I've never seen the actual blanket hanging in the tree. I've never seen that.
Gotcha.
So
when is the next day comes? Searchers are out there. How long are searchers in the area searching for Jack and Lilly?
For the first initial search, I think it was like 6 or 7 days. I'd have to look at all the actual how many days they were here for, but it was 6 or 7 for the first initial search, and then they came back the next weekend and they did that search as well. And that doesn't include when the dive teams came in. I talked with those guys after they were done finishing Lansdowne Lake and some of the ponds and the streams, and they assured me that there was no evidence that the kids were near any water.
Interesting. And your property, I know it was recently searched with the cadaver dogs.
Yeah.
How many times has it been searched by the search team and the dogs, whether it was the first time they were out there or second, third? How many times those happened?
The amount of times the property was searched was, I can't even put a number on it, Daniel, because it was constantly new people coming in and walking through the property. Like for the whole time, there was just new people coming in. I mean, there's the amount of ribbons I see around, it's in the thousands in Lansdowne.
Gotcha. And so they're coming in, they're searching the property. How long before you're brought into a police station?
I was brought in. I don't remember what day I was brought in because all the days mashed together. But I was brought in by 2 investigators that were originally on the case.
Okay.
And
Yeah, there again, you think, well, surely you would remember the day you were brought in, but maybe not. Maybe it was all like a dream or a nightmare.
and I haven't seen those guys in a while now. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But those two original guys took me in, and we went into the Stellarton detachment, which is in Pictou County, not the major crimes headquarters that's in Bible Hill.
Mm-hmm.
But I sat in the room with them, and they bought me some food and some coffee, which we know why that was for, right? Collect DNA.
Yeah.
And they never had to ask me for any of that. I was willing to give them everything.
Right.
But yeah, we ran over the timeline the 2 days prior, and I drew them a map of everywhere I went during the search, and also we just talked about everything that led up to where I was that day, sitting down talking to them.
And this after that, you and Malaya were no longer in communication?
Yeah, this was after that. Yeah.
Okay. And so, did you drive in there on your own? Did they pick you up?
No, they actually drove. Whenever they needed me, they actually came and got me.
Got you.
Because they wanted to know for 100% that I was coming or not, or so they always came and got me. Like I was with them every day for the first, quite a few days. Like I seen them every day. That wasn't my first interrogation though. I wasn't sitting in the Stellarton dispatch or Stellarton department. That was my very first actual audio recording with them. Was the second day of the search before Malaya left. I actually sat in with major crimes officers, and we recorded everything that I did and everything I knew so far up there. I mean, up until they were talking to me.
And
so we actually, during the interrogation at the Stellarton dispatch, we actually went over a lot of the stuff we already did, just so they could cross-reference, right?
And how long were you out there for at the dispatch?
What was that?
How long did that interview take? Was it a couple of hours?
The original one, sitting in the major crimes van with them, that was about 45 minutes to an hour. And then, but the actual interrogation, if you want to call it, at the Stellarton dispatch, that one was almost 4 hours.
Jeez, that's extensive. And
long interrogations. Long interrogations he's had, and of course the polygraph. Don't forget his past.
So you walk in there, they're asking you some questions for 4 hours. Do they ever get accusatory?
No, not at all. I was completely cooperative with them. And I said, like, yeah, we're going to come and get your phone in a few days. Do you want to sign a waiver? And I said, no, I don't even need to sign a waiver. And I threw him my phone. So,
yeah. So when did they pick up your phone? Was it that day?
No, it wasn't that day. It was actually a few days after.
Okay. And how long did they have your phone for?
They had my phone for about a week. And they actually gave me a loaner phone to use while they had my phone. And then they brought my phone back. And
now, well, a couple of strange things there. I mean, I don't mean about Daniel. Why did it take him 3 days to take his phone? Because he might have done a Stefan Stearns by then and factory reset. And then they gave him a police phone, and you can see the other Daniel is smirking a bit there because, obviously they gave him a police phone because that way they'll be able to track him.
I realized my little SIM card holder wasn't inside the phone. So they said, I guess we're going to have to go back and get that from the tech guys. So I used the phone for an extra few days while they retrieved my little SIM card holder.
Interesting. And
yeah,
so they had your phone?
I don't know if that was all planned or not, Daniel.
Well, I'm sure they were listening into the things you were saying on that phone they let you borrow.
Yeah. Well, they were free to listen, Daniel. Nothing was going on.
And so you get your phone back. I'm understanding that they went through your text messages, your bank accounts, your locations.
Uh-huh.
What else were they able to access from your phone?
Oh, they got access to everything, Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably looked. I mean, they had it for over a week, so they could have just looked through everything.
And did they have any questions referencing what they looked through with the phone after they gave it back?
No, they didn't. I didn't question them on it, and they didn't question me. They said, here's your phone back. Everything's good.
And how long was it between the time that they gave you your phone back and the time that you took the polygraph test?
I may have taken the polygraph exam when they had my phone.
Oh, okay.
I don't quite remember that. It's hard for me to remember all, because usually I'm not pulling up date to date, right? So
with that, I know you said that, hey, I'm willing to take a polygraph test. I'll answer your questions.
yeah.
You know, how long from that time that you said, hey, I'll do it? How long was it before you actually sat there in front of the polygraph test?
I'm guessing probably a week, but it felt like longer than that, Daniel. Every day was so long.
I can imagine. Now,
I'm just going to pick up on one little thing that maybe you've noticed it, and maybe Daniel, the stepdad, says Daniel a lot to the other guy. You know, I mean, I know that's his name, but I noticed it before, that when I first watched this video, and I thought, oh, so during watching this, I've been trying to notice every time he says Daniel. Really often. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it means anything, but when I notice like the other way, because they're both called Daniel, when Daniel, the host, the podcast host, is talking to Daniel, the stepdad, you know, apart from at the beginning, maybe when he was introducing him, he hasn't, you know, I think it's unusual to use someone's name so often. Again, I don't know, because I don't know Daniel Martell, how he normally is. Maybe he always talks to people like that, but he's over mentioning his name. I'm not saying that's even relevant, even if he is. I'm just saying, has anybody else noticed it? And is it relevant or not? Or is he just trying to engage?
kind of transitioning to that polygraph. You go in, did they give you the questions they were going to ask beforehand?
Yeah, they actually did give us the questions ahead of time. There was actually 5 questions. I don't know why it says in the documents there was 4. There was actually 5 questions they wanted to ask, and then they would throw in questions that they knew that were that you couldn't lie on, right? Like, have you ever lost your temper? Obviously, everybody has lost their temper before, so you can't. And then you're going to say that you never lost your temper before, and then they know that's a lie, right?
Yeah.
So they could find your baseline on that. But all my questions centered around the death of the children. Are you an accessory to killing Lilly and Jack? Did you murder Lilly and Jack? That's all the questions were based on that.
Oh, those are 2. What are the other 3?
That's interesting, isn't it? Why would they, when they don't know that they're dead, that they've been murdered, why would all the questions focus on the murder of Jack and Lilly? There's so many oddities in this case. Anyway, and then Daniel, the host, asks that question. What were the other questions?
What they did was just reword the questions, differently, right?
Did they ask you, like, do you know where they're at?
No.
Strange.
Oh, that's
no. They were just all a murder or accessory to murder. Do you know anything on the murders of Lilly and Jack? Are you accessory to killing Lilly and Jack? Did you murder Lilly and Jack?
Strange, isn't it? Referring to it as a murder when it's not been announced that it is a murder, or that even that the police think that. It's odd. As the host said to him, wouldn't they be asking, that might be one of the questions you would ask, did you murder Lilly and Jack? But wouldn't you say, do you know what happened to Lilly and Jack? Do you know who did murder Lilly and Jack? I'm really surprised that he says they brought up murder all the time, because it hasn't been, it's not a homicide. It's not been classified as that. So why didn't they ask questions like, do you know where they are? Because, of course, it could have been abducted by someone he knows. Odd.
The same questions, but just the orientation of the wording was just changed.
Understood.
But I didn't want questions like that. I said, let's do another polygraph, and that's have all the questions on disappearance. And I want everybody else polygraphed the exact same way.
So you suspect that they didn't ask Malaya about the disappearance aspect? Just
No, they wanted to rule out death as quick as possible, because that would narrow everything down. Because if they knew that the children were deceased, that would completely narrow it down. They wouldn't have to ask them this on the disappearance.
So you take the polygraph test. Is there any like questioning after the polygraph?
No, I actually did 3 polygraphs back to back. It took a total of 3 hours I was there for.
Oh, really? 3
Yeah.
And it was the same questions over
The
and over
same
again?
questions over and over and over. And then they showed me a piece of paper at the end, and it said, like, it showed you like all the stuff on the polygraph, and I passed.
That's crazy.
And then after that, I was taken into a separate room, and where I sat with major crimes officers, and we just talked.
And that conversation, what was the basis of it?
Oh, the conversation after the polygraph?
Yeah.
Just chatting with a couple of major crimes officers.
Wasn't about the case in specific?
No, it wasn't about the case at all.
All right. And so, the polygraph test is over. You walk out.
Very strange.
How is communication with law enforcement after that?
It definitely improved, but they weren't really hard on me at all, even from the start, because I was so cooperative. You know what I mean? There was a lot of inside jokes, and it was a different experience than I think most people would think of.
A lot of inside jokes when 2 kids have gone missing. That seems strange to me. There's a lot seems odd. Not only about what Daniel's saying, but with the police, a lot of inside jokes. What jokes can you be making about 2 tiny children going missing? What jokes? Inside jokes? Like what? Strange that.
Yeah.
They were actually, pretty lenient with me, like, driving fast in the car on the highway, and them guys throwing jokes out and everything like that. It was a different experience.
Good deal. But like, as far as
this poor podcast, you can tell he's looking at him right. Oh, so the police are throwing jokes out on the highway. He's a very good interviewer, because he's got a right poker face. But Daniel seemed to really enjoy that memory, didn't he? Oh, in fact, I want to see that again.
communication with law enforcement after that?
It definitely improved, but they weren't really hard on me at all, even from the start, because I was so cooperative. You know what I mean? There was a lot of inside jokes, and it was a different experience than I think most people would think of.
Yeah.
They were actually, pretty lenient with me, like, driving fast in the car on the highway, and them guys.
Is it just me, or it's like this is a great experience? He's enjoyed it. Look at the guy's face. The other Daniel just laughing at his face because thrown out jokes on the highway. Poor little Jack and Lily.
Throwing jokes out and everything like that. It was a different experience.
Good deal. But like, as far as the amount of communication, did they, after you took the polygraph test, did they continue to talk to you the same amount, or did that?
Yeah, they continued to talk to me the same amount until about, I would say, maybe 2 months in. It was after that CBC interview. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It kind of like tapered off after that, and then in the last month and a half, maybe last month, the officers have only or investigators have only came to me 2 times, once for the human remains dogs and once to get all Lily and Jack's belongings for Malaya.
Yeah, that's kind of indicative of somebody who, if they suspected you, they want to talk to you as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want you to talk as much as you can.
But you have to remember, after my
well, that's possibly true. Perhaps because they've got to a point where they don't suspect him anymore, they don't need to talk to him anymore. Or maybe because he did the interview and they didn't, that happened again with Sebastian Rogers' dad, wasn't it? The police stopped talking to him because he was on all these podcasters, YouTube channels and things. The police, they don't like that, do they? I mean, let's face it, they like it in a way because, when if it's the actual perpetrator who's done something, they can let things slip, can't they, when they're being interviewed? So I'm sure the police will have been glued to this interview just as any other interview that Daniel has done, but they don't really like it. You know, they stopped talking to Seth because Seth was not discreet, was he, with what the information that he gave away? So, you know, and of course Seth Rogers, Sebastian's dad, he is very down on the police, isn't he? So, I mean, Daniel's not critical of the police, seems to have had a great time with them.
Visits with Meadow, I would always stop in at major crimes. I mean, I walk into the front desk of the department. I said, Daniel, you can go meet him around back. Go to the back door where major crimes headquarters is.
Yeah.
So
how are things with Meadow? How are your visitations going?
My visits with Meadow are going pretty good. There's not really much I can say other than that with all the court stuff. I mean, I don't have another court hearing for almost like 3 months, I think. So.
And have you spoken with Malaya since any of this has happened?
Yes, I did. I did one time.
How did that go?
Actually, there was twice. First time, when she was on the run with Meadow, fled to the reserve when she wasn't being supervised. Darren called me and said Malaya's unsupervised. So then I called Malaya's phone from my aunt's phone because I was at my uncle's at the time. Used my aunt's phone. I called Malaya's phone. Malaya picked up, and I could tell from the background that she was in a moving vehicle. So Darren was correct on that. And so then I called major crimes investigators, and I said, you know, Malaya's on the run with Meadow. And they said, there's nothing we can do, Daniel. You got to call CPS for that. Troy called CPS, but they were already closed. And it was actually Cindy, her own mother, which called CPS on Malaya, which had Meadow removed.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so
that's something new that the public probably doesn't know.
And
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So Malaya's own mother phoned CPS, according to Daniel, and Meadow was removed from Malaya's custody. Oh, poor Meadow as well, you know. She's only a baby, so hopefully she won't really be aware of what's going on. Seems funny that his next court date is another 3 months. I mean, I'm sure he'll have supervised visit before then, will he? Because the thing is, babies grow up so quick, don't they? They change so quick. He's missing, you know, if he's got nothing to, you know, if he is completely innocent, it's not fair, is it, that he's not able to see his baby? Trouble is, you know, how it has to be established, doesn't it?
And what ended up resulting? What happened? Did CPS find her, pick her up? Obviously?
CPS went to her father's house along with RCMP, I do believe, and they actually took Meadow out of her care while she was at Henry's.
Gotcha. And Meadow's been in CPS with CPS since?
She's in foster care.
Gotcha. And are there any like is there a?
She's in foster care, bless her. I hope she's in a good home.
An end result in that? Do you guys think that she'll be in foster care for much longer?
I'm not sure at the moment. I mean, there's so many moving parts in this, Daniel. I'm not sure, especially with Jack and Lily being missing in that case, because they're Malaya's children. CPS it has them included into the court case. Like they have them included in the court cases because it's involuntary, right? Because she's the mother of them. She's connected to Meadow, so they're automatically seen in the court case.
Are there any stipulations that you have? Like, are you forced to take any drug tests or anything like that?
Drug tests, and I have to do therapy, psychological exam. What else do we have? There's so many things. I mean, I have meetings with my lawyer. That takes time too for that case.
And I'm assuming since you're still meeting with her that you're passing all these things, drug test, everything's passing.
Yeah.
Good deal.
I do all that. I tried to do as much as I can. I even asked them the other day. We had a private conference with the lawyers, and there was a lawyer from the ministry for foster care and my caseworkers. And I asked them if there's anything extra they can do. They said, no, not right now. It's just like you already have like enough on your plate right now. Just keep up doing that stuff. Because, most days, Daniel, I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. And so, speaking of CPS, there's been a lot of speculation about the kids having been visited by CPS and things of that nature. Can you clear that up?
So this is a very cautious question, very polite, respectful question from Daniel, the host, regarding some rumours that were going around.
I will actually clear that up. I cleared it up many times online, but there's still people that seem to have misconceptions on that. Okay. So CPS actually did come to the house, and that was about Jack and Lily's behavior, especially at school. And then they were about to be diagnosed with, or be sent for the diagnosis of autism. The school wanted that, and me and Malaya wanted that as well. The main reason why CPS came out is to, give us phone numbers and give us some instruction and who could we go to learn more about dealing with their behaviors.
So it had nothing to do with a black eye?
No.
What's the story behind the black eyes? Because I think it's been something a lot of people have been asking about, that there's a multiple black eyes. What would you want to clear up about that?
I mean, the black eyes, it definitely was not from me. Daniel would come out and say that first. Come out, because I know the world thinks that, and that's absolutely heartbreaking for me to be accused of that stuff.
Now, I've got to say, I hadn't heard about black eyes, but I think you'll see as he continues, he's not denying there were black eyes, he's denying that he did them. Because,
as you can see, and even in the court documents, Malaya refers to as Daniel was an involved parent, and he didn't even physically discipline the kids. If I'm not going to physically discipline them, why would I ever abuse them? That's the first thing. But the most of the black eyes were probably from Lilly, because, and I don't want to say 100%, because Jack was really clumsy too. Like when we used to take him to the woods, he would fall a lot. I remember one time too, Jack ran right into the doorknob on the door.
Now, straight away, I thought, how's he managed to do that? Because he's only a little one, or would he be the same level as a doorknob? I don't think he'd be tall enough to run into a doorknob, to be honest. I'm just being honest here. And, him saying that he fell over a lot when they were in the woods and that. You don't give yourself a black eye by falling over. Or, well, I can't say that you never would, but it's more unusual, isn't it? I've had a couple of black eyes. Oh, having said that, one was from falling over in the bath, and I cracked my eye socket on the side of the bath. What was the other black eye that I had once? Oh, yeah, opening the car door and pulling it too hard, and it just whacked in. I was rushing, and it whacked into my eye. It was on my birthday, not this year, it was a few years ago. And I ended up with a black eye from that. Just him saying that, he ran into and I'm not saying that anything untoward happened, I just don't know. But it just reminds me, one of my sisters many years ago had an abusive husband, and her daughter, one of my sisters, she got married very young, let's say. I had a baby very young. She was married to someone who wasn't a good person. And just remember, I was taken, their child had stayed overnight at our house, at my parents' house, and I was pushing the pram to take the baby back home the following day, which was terrible, really, because I was only about 8 at the time. When I think about it, the babysitting I had to do from a very young age, but it was a different era then, I suppose. And lo and behold, there my sister comes walking towards me, big black eye. And I said, what happened to your eye? And she said, oh, I walked into the door. But of course, that was not the truth. So, of course, that's a common thing that people say. But you know what? It may be true. Just I think is Jack not too little? To what I'm looking at the door handles as I speak in my house. I think they're much higher than for a 4-year-old, but I don't know what their doors are like.
They would throw stuff at each other. They were quite aggressive toward each other. Then most times when they became aggressive, Malaya couldn't handle them. I had to come home from work 4 or 5 times just due to the fact Malaya couldn't handle the kids. And that's why you can refer to the documents again. Malaya said that Daniel had a voice that the kids listened to.
Now, was this behavior of them physical? Is that why CPS was called? I mean, you mentioned there was behavior. Were they?
Yeah, it was behavior at school because Jack would refuse to do things, or some days he would do it he would do it easily. Other days he would completely refuse. They became aggressive. I remember Lily would try to pull her hair out sometimes when she would get frustrated. So, I mean, there was just, and I'm not going to point fingers at Malaya saying that she couldn't handle the kids like 100%, but it was a struggle for her, man. It really was.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her because, being a stay-at-home.
So basically what he's saying is the kids were aggressive to each other. So did they cause each other's injuries or whatever injuries there was? He's not saying, I think it's important to note, he's not saying that there weren't black eyes. He's saying he didn't cause them. It was either a door or they did it to each other because they were aggressive.
Mom isn't easy, right?
Right. No, it's not. I mean, being a parent in general is not easy. And
of course, it's one of the most difficult jobs you'll ever do.
Yeah, and if they did have autism and they had some behavioral issues, I mean, that can only add to it as well. And so none of the reasoning. Well, let me rephrase this. So CPS doesn't have anything open when it comes to Jack and Lily currently. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's good to know. There's not an open investigation. There's nothing there.
No.
Okay. And so the cadaver dogs come out here recently. Now, a lot of people have been speculating because you had a vehicle traffic incident that occurred.
Yeah.
I guess the timing behind that's a lot of people are kind of trying to connect some dots. What happened with the traffic accident?
Okay, I got pulled over.
I mean, not accident, incident. I've said accident.
Yeah, incident. That's right. Yeah, I only got into one accident ever. We don't want to talk about that. But yeah, the incident is I got pulled over, and the vehicle wasn't the registration wasn't in my name, but now it is. The vehicle sitting in the driveway and everything like that. I didn't receive any fines, and the car just got impounded. Went down, got it towed out of the impound, and it's all good.
And so the vehicle was there. Now I'm curious. Did you see anything out of place? Any of the body panels inside out of place? Did it appear?
No,
it went anything.
No, it went straight to the tow yard. Nothing was different on it. Nothing was moved. It was just nothing was touched in it.
If investigators wanted to
like
go
the
through
kitchen.
it, would you have?
Investigators knew about my vehicle being impounded. I even said to the investigators, like, you should seize that as evidence and then give it back to me so I don't have to pay the impound fees.
Well, he likes to crack a joke, doesn't he? He likes to crack a joke. I don't like this cracking jokes that he's doing all the time. He seems to be enjoying it too much, doesn't he? But yeah, nothing was touched in the car whatsoever, just like nothing was touched in the kitchen.
Like that's how much I joke with investigators, man.
Yeah. And so you got your vehicle back, the property with the cadaver dogs. Now, they show up. How much advance notice did you have that they were going to be at your property?
I didn't have any notice. I didn't know what day they were coming, what hour they were coming. It was on Monday. I literally got home at 1:00. My visit was over.
I remembers the day and the time for this one. It's been not really remembered a lot before now.
Over 12 o'clock with Meadow.
Mhm.
So I got home around 1 o'clock because it's an hour drive. And I pulled into the yard, and the SUVs were there.
Mm.
The picture or video I sent you, that was at the blanket site. That's when I knew the dogs were in Lansdowne.
Got you. And so I know that there was news out there, that the RCMP reported it to the news. So if they didn't report it, you wouldn't have had any knowledge?
No, I didn't know what day they were coming. I didn't know what time they were getting, from the airport or wherever, how they were shipped, the dogs. So.
And so from the time that they did notify you, I'm assuming that they did, or did they just knock on your door and say, hey, we're here?
No, I wasn't even home at the time. They must have just came right into the yard, and Mom was there but they were searching for only about an hour before I arrived on scene, like before I arrived home.
And when you arrived, they were still there searching?
Yeah, they didn't hardly make it anywhere. They must have been talking to Mom for the first little while, because literally they were right outside the end of the house, like by the bedroom. They were just walking around, So, and then I walked up to them. I said, hey, can I walk up to you and the dog, right?
Yeah. Being
Being respectful, obviously.
Yeah. And did they allow you to walk with them throughout the search?
Yeah, I did walk with them for some of it, but then it's like I don't want to get in the way. They were asking me where they should search and stuff like that. So I just told them, do whatever you need to do. There's the beaver pond out back. There's the marsh right beside the house. Like, these are wetland areas, so the ground's much softer, right?
Yeah.
So I figured, you know what I mean? Those might be good places to start for them.
Yeah. And so they're searching out there. How long was the dogs while you were there? Obviously they were there for a little bit before you got there, but how long were they there on your property while you were there?
3 hours maybe. That was only one dog. The very first day there was only one dog.
And
on the property, it was a black shepherd.
And did the handler have him on a leash, or did he let him free roam?
They free roamed while they were in the yard, but when they took them onto the paved road, they had them on leashes. The leashes were like just rope that was like 20 feet long or something like that.
Good deal. And so the first day comes, they search, and it was just one dog. They leave. Second day comes in. Is it a different dog? Is it the same dog? Or
they brought in, I believe on the second day, they brought in both dogs.
Okay. And they searched it at the same time, or was it one after another?
They had them. They were both. I kind of want to say both together, but like they weren't walking right over each other's footprints, right?
Gotcha.
So.
And so they search out there. How long were they there on the second day?
On the second day, they did 3 or 4 hours too, but they left a little bit earlier because they wanted to go back and do the pipeline and stuff too, right?
Gotcha.
So,
and free roam again off the leash and the property.
Yeah. Whenever they were on the property, they were always free roam.
And
they had fun chasing the cat around. Smelling the chickens. They went inside the chicken coop. The dogs actually did not go underneath the house. We lifted up, the door on the side of the skirting, and I was the one who crawled under there. I think I told you that in a message.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
that they were pointing to you to go to certain places and uncover things and stuff.
Yeah. I didn't. I felt bad for them. I didn't want to get their pretty uniforms dirty.
There you go. And so they're out there and they leave that area. They go out.
That's oh, I'm not even going to comment on that. Didn't want to get their pretty uniforms dirty. So he was going in these places for them, apparently.
Up to the where the boot print was. Is that the last time they searched your house, or was there a third one?
I'm not sure if they came back or not, because on Wednesday, right? It was Monday when they first landed, and then on Wednesday I had to go back and I had a visit with Meadow. So I was gone for majority of the morning until 1 o'clock again.
And did they tell you if they found absolutely anything out there?
I was not notified of anything.
Then did they tell you they didn't find nothing, or did they just not mention anything? Because could
they
have
didn't
found
mention
something and
anything
not
to
say
me.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so,
Yeah,
did
that's
But I
where they
think-
were going to be at?
But when I went by on
that's a very good question, because there is a huge difference between saying you haven't found anything and just not saying anything. So, not saying you haven't found anything, not saying you have. That's different from actually saying, no, we didn't find anything.
my Friday's meeting with after my visit with Meadow, I didn't see any of the vehicles at Northeast Major Crimes where I've seen them. I've seen one on Wednesday, right? The K9 unit handlers SUV. So I figured what they're doing, they still have the cadaver dogs out, but they're searching different locations now.
Understood. A
So-
lot of people were talking about, your uncle's property, and that maybe even, I think Janie has mentioned that she has a 7-acre property out there as well. Do you know if the cadaver dogs and or the search dogs have searched that property?
I'm not sure if they did or not, but the properties are really close to the pipeline. So I imagine they would have walked up and down the sides of the road. So
Yeah.
they might have done them. I have no confirmation on that though, Daniel.
Understood. So you don't know.
No.
And would there be any issue if they showed up and said, "Can we search this property?" You think? I'm sure.
Oh
Janie
no, there would have been no issues. Like my family's 100% cooperative. They would never say no to anything of law enforcement.
Has there been anybody, not necessarily inside your family, but anybody in the neighborhood who hasn't been cooperative?
I know what you're getting at, Daniel. I know what you're getting at. And I'm gonna say, I don't know if they were not cooperative, but they weren't happy to be cooperative.
So I'm not sure who this is that they're discussing. Not happy to be cooperative.
And so I know that there was a person who wasn't too fond of the command center being close to their property.
That's right.
Do you know if they denied anybody of entering their property?
I am not 100% sure on that, but it would have been stupid not to let law enforcement on your property. I mean, they're already knocking on the door, and I mean, just by sitting in front of your house, I mean, it's not a wise thing not to let them in.
Yeah, no, I understand. Now, I believe this person, and I don't know if it's the same person or not, but I believe this person has mentioned a couple of things. One of the things mentions is that he heard a vehicle driving around at 5 a.m. Or at some point, a 5-speed vehicle. Is there a vehicle that has visited you? Maybe not that night, but in other nights, maybe they're confused about the night that they heard this. Have you ever had a late night visitor with a loud vehicle?
No, I don't know anybody with the 5-speed other than my brother. And my brother has a wife and a family, so he's not driving out there in the middle of the night.
And is it like a vehicle that's loud?
No, it's a brand new Subaru.
Oh, okay. And so,
and it's not customized or anything either. So there's.
Now that's interesting, because this is what we've said when we've been talking about Little Gus as well, or any remote areas like this, when people, people are going to hear cars, aren't they? They're going to hear them, surely, because, sound carries in the countryside, doesn't it? Sound carries.
No loud exhaust or anything like that.
Just like a normal vehicle.
Yeah.
And the area, if somebody were to come to your house, would they have cell service in your home if you had friends over?
What's that? Would they have service?
Yeah. If you invited me over to your home and I went over, would I have cell service at your house?
No. If you put your phone in the window, you might.
Was he being sick there? Or he's having a cough up or whatever? What the hell was that? Sorry, just watch that again. I mean, it's been on for quite a long time. Maybe he should have just asked for a 5-minute break or something.
Had a late night visitor with a loud vehicle?
No, I don't know anybody with the 5-speed other than my brother. And my brother has a wife and a family, so he's not driving out there in the middle of the night.
And is it like a vehicle that's loud?
No, it's a brand new Subaru.
Oh, okay. And so,
and it's not customized or anything either. So there's no loud exhaust or anything like that.
Just like a normal vehicle.
Yeah.
And the
Ooh.
The area, if somebody were to come to your house, would they have cell service in your home if you had friends over?
What's that? Would they have service?
Yeah. If you invited me over to your home and I went over, would I have cell service at your house?
No. If you put your phone in the window, you might have one bar.
Do people that what do you use so that people do have service?
Wi-Fi. We have Starlink.
And when people come to your house, do you share that information so that they can have service, or is that something that's private?
The Wi-Fi is left completely open. I don't know if I want to say that on the internet, but it's left completely wide open.
You may want to close it.
Yeah, after this, I am going to close it, I think.
Yeah, you might want to, because people might pull up close to you and try to log in. But yeah, all right. Now, the reason I ask is because if somebody's visiting you, they most likely would connect to the Wi-Fi so they can have service, correct?
Yeah, we left it wide open before people that are stranded on the side of the roads or law enforcement when they were here, so they would have Wi-Fi, because even when they were in the house, their radios didn't work.
Gotcha. And so, have you
There's
had
a lot of reporters that came down from like Montreal that drove down and stuff like that, and they had satellite phones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And have you had parties at your house or anything like that?
No, I don't have parties. I was raising kids and having a family, Daniel.
Now, I know that some people have questioned this a lot. Drug use.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've ever had a problem with?
I've used drugs before in the past. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'll be the first person to say that.
And when did it stop?
It stopped before the disappearance. Obviously, I wasn't using drugs during the search or anything like some of Malaya's family claim to say.
Gotcha. And so this is a problem from a while ago?
So, yeah, these are all rumours, weren't they, that he was having a party the night before and drug taking, etc. He's denying it. So, we don't know that he was having a party. Nobody's said he was having, nobody's confirmed if they were. So we have to take his word at face value.
Or is this a recent problem that you've had?
Well, Daniel, was never really a problem. Like, I wasn't going into any psychosis or being, crazy in any way. I wasn't doing like break and enters or, doing anything like that to feed an addiction.
Right. And so, but when was the last time then that you did use?
Much before the disappearance. I can't put an actual day on it, but it was much before.
Gotcha. And so
I didn't have any drugs.
So again, can't put an actual day on it, what the last day that he took drugs. But and he says, like before the disappearance, I think there's a definite distancing of Daniel from what he's talking, like calling it the case, the disappearance, these kind of things. There is a distancing, but maybe that's the way he's coping with it. So I'm not making any inference from it, but it does sometimes, the way he refers to it, it's not as if it's his children. At the end of the day, they are his children, his stepchildren.
There was no drugs on the property. There's no meth labs. There's nothing like that. You would have seen me going on handcuffs the very first day if there was drugs, right?
I would assume so. When they say that there's no evidence of a criminal offense, I would assume drugs would be a criminal offense. So,
yeah, that's correct. And investigators even told me, they said, Daniel, if you had any drugs, we would just take them. But we know there was no drugs on the property, so.
Yeah. And I know that Malaya's family has mentioned that. To your knowledge, Malaya mentioned that to anybody? Or is that just
I think she did. But, I mean, the narrative's always been targeted at me, right, though, Daniel?
Gotcha.
And I'll stay in the spotlight as long as it takes, because as long as I'm the target, the individuals or groups or whoever has the kids, they're gonna feel more relaxed, and that gives investigators a chance to strike.
So you believe that the kids are alive?
Yes, 100%. I hope every day. I believe the exact same as RCMP do. They didn't go.
Interesting. So he thinks they're with someone. I think reading between the lines, I think you can tell that Daniel thinks, I don't mean Daniel the host, I mean Daniel's stepdad, thinks that Malaya knows exactly where the children are. That's what he's trying to convey anyway.
Went to the woods.
What do you believe happened?
I don't want to go into any theories. I don't want to point any fingers because I've done that so many times online. So I'm going to refrain from doing it, Daniel.
Do you think it was an outsider?
No, because on the second day they came out and said this is not an abduction. An abduction means that the individual or parties that took the kids wouldn't be known by the kids. That's what an abduction is. So when the RCMP said it wasn't an abduction, that means the person that has the kids is known by them. And because I was with Malaya for 3 years, I think I may know the person that has the kids, right? Because I was involved in the kid's life and I was involved in Malaya's life.
Mm-hmm.
So he said he thinks he might know the person who has the kids. Well, I presume he's told the police that, and the police would want to know this, find this person, wouldn't they? I don't know if he'd ever spoke to the police about that he thinks he knows who's got the kids. What do you think?
So, but I went to investigators with every single lead I have, and they listen, but I don't know what they're planning or their plan is, right? Because they don't let me in on that stuff, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
But they always just tell me don't pursue any leads, don't fly any drones, don't follow anybody, which I don't. So
that's good advice. You don't want to put yourself in a bad position.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have so many people following me and drones and everything else. So
yeah, no, I've heard, and your guys' lives should not be like that. And so I know you mentioned, and we'll be kind of closing it off here pretty soon. You mentioned that you want some more polygraph tests. You've included yourself in that as far as that you're willing.
Oh, 100%. I told investigators I'll do as many polygraphs as it takes.
And you don't have to give names, but are there people in specifics that you want to take polygraph tests?
Yeah, there's many people that are involved in the case, including the individual or individuals that found the part of the blanket. They were never polygraphed.
Interesting. And so you want those that found certain things to also be polygraphed as well.
Yeah, because I think the people that found the only possible evidence during the search, they should probably be polygraphed, considering that their involvement, right?
You know, there's some interesting things that have been said that, you know, I was talking to Darren once as well, and he mentioned that when he was talking to Malaya, that there was, before the disappearance, there was conversation of her with the family talking about potentially leaving you. And that when he went and spoke to her, like, hey, is this true? She said, don't worry about it. I got another plan, or something to that nature. And
yeah,
so,
I can tell you the actual story on that if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I know Darren too. So
yeah, how from your point of view, how did that go down?
And okay, Patty, which is Malaya's grandmother, asked Darren, you know, I don't think Malaya wants to be with Daniel anymore. This is 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Do you think, Darren, you can go and get Malaya? And Darren's like, no, I'm not breaking up in a relationship. Like that's a relationship. Like I'm not going to get involved in somebody else's, life. Right. Which makes sense. That was a smart thing by Darren to do. So this is 2 weeks prior. And
I just want to say that I do think that this is the crux of the whole thing. I don't know whether Malaya took the children or whether Daniel did anything. I don't know what happened. But I think the crux of it is Malaya wanted to leave Daniel. I think this is the root of it, of whatever has happened. But I don't know what's happened. And I still don't have any strong feeling one way or the other. At the end of the day, there's strange things in Daniel's interview, but you're always going to find strange things, aren't you, when someone comes on and gets interviewed like this? So you can analyse it, and you'll always be able to find something strange. But I do think the crux of the whole issue, and I hope to God that Lily and Jack are alive somewhere with someone that Malaya knows, but the crux of the whole issue is Malaya wanting to get away from Daniel. And that's the reason why it's all happened, whatever has happened.
And so then Patty calls Malaya and asks Malaya, if you ever just want to, get away, you can come live with me. And then that's when Malaya said, no, Patty, I have a different plan.
Hmm.
And this was told to me by Darren, which had access to both sides of the family, right?
Yeah.
The only person that had access to both sides is Darren and the investigators.
Huh.
So.
Do you think that any dogs or any searches are going to...
And also, Daniel, I want to add to that. This is backed up in the court case with Meadow. And in one of the affidavits, it does state that Malaya wanted to leave 2 weeks prior, but then decided to stay. So that's some evidence that back that up.
Now, the only thing I see what he's saying. He's thinking, he's trying to say that it was all engineered deliberately by Malaya so she could get away. And maybe, at the end of the day, if she was getting domestic abuse, maybe she felt she couldn't leave with Meadow, But then I just think, why would she do that? She's now lost Meadow and Jack and Lily because she can't be openly seen to be with Jack and Lily or know where they are, and she's lost Meadow's social services. Meadow's in a foster home, unless she was thinking in advance and thinking, well, it won't always be like that.
It's an odd timing of things.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's extremely odd.
It is. It's odd timing, and
for Malaya to say that, a little bit more odd.
It is. It is.
Mhm.
Like, I completely understand when Darren says some of the things that he says referencing her, her actions or behaviors.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned that the one time that you've talked to her. What was the second time? That
The first time was just that hello on the phone when she was fleeing to the reserve. And then as soon as she heard my voice, she immediately hung up the phone, right?
Okay.
So, but by that time, I already heard the background noise. She wasn't a moving car. So Darren was actually correct on that. And
Right.
Darren's correct on a lot of things. So,
And the second time,
and the second time was when she filed the report or complaint to CPS about me. We can go into the first complaint after this, but the second complaint was after investigators came and got all Jack and Lily's belongings. Letters that were received in the mailbox here, and so there was 3 letters. There was one to Lily, one to Jack, and one to Malaya. They were all from Nova Scotia Health Authority.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were health cards or not, or something, but because I wasn't going to go look through the mail because that's a federal offense to go through someone's mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was the 3 letters, and there was Jack and Lily's tablets, right? So there was a tablet each, and there was 3 letters. Malaya was coming out of CPS, so I walked up. When she opened up her trunk, I seen her. I walked up, and I put the 3 pieces of mail and the 2 tablets in their trunk, and I said, "Have a good day, Malaya," and walked away, and then went in and had my visit with Meadow.
Mm-hmm. And she reported you for that.
Yeah, she reported me for that. But when I walked up to her, the odd thing was when she seen me, she smiled. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, to me, that behavior is like coercive, like stalky, because he's been told to stay away from her and he may have had letters for her. Of course, the way he mentioned that, the strange thing was when I saw her, she smiled. I've been stalked many years ago, and that is a sort of thing that somebody might say, so because of course those letters he could have given to his mom, they could have posted them on to her, or posted them to someone she knew. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I saw this before, when it came to this bit, I did sort of take a deep breath, and it did remind me, because he's like, I was just there giving her letters, and that there's always a reason. And then the way he said, and the funny thing was she smiled. Is she trying to get away from Daniel? What is going on here? There's more to all this. That's just my impression. That does not mean to say he did anything to Jack and Lily. I'm not saying that. In fact, probably the opposite, probably more concrete. What he says, that she took them or arranged for them to go because, excuse me, maybe she couldn't see another way of getting rid of him, you know, or leaving him. But it seems a bit dramatic, doesn't it, really? Maybe she didn't realise it would turn into this huge case. Sorry, excuse me. Maybe she didn't realise it would turn into this huge case. I think is if she's got a restraining order against him, or if he's not supposed to see her, when he came up behind her there in the parking lot or whatever, that would have been really scary, really, really scary for her. But I don't know. So let me just listen to that again, the way you said it. But it did, the first time I listened to it, did make me think, oh, you know, it's
Malaya wanted to leave 2 weeks prior, but then decided to stay. So that's some evidence that back that up.
It's an odd timing of things.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's extremely odd.
It is. It's odd timing, and
for Malaya to say that, a little bit more odd.
It is. It is. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I completely understand when Darren says some of the things that he says referencing her, you know, her actions or behaviors. Mm-hmm. You know, I know you mentioned that the one time that you've talked to her. What was the second time?
The first time was just that hello on the phone when she was fleeing to the reserve. And then as soon as she heard my voice, she immediately hung up the phone, right? Okay. So, but by that time, I already heard the background noise. She wasn't a moving car. So Darren was actually correct on that. And Darren's correct on a lot of things.
Now, no offense to Darren, but just because she was in a moving car, she could have been going to the supermarket, you know, or to see a friend. Doesn't mean to say she was going to the reservation, but maybe that is where she did go. But the police will be able to find her wherever she is.
So,
and the
second time was when she filed the report or complaint to CPS about me. We can go into the first complaint after this, but the second complaint was after investigators came and, you know, got all Jack and Lily's belongings. There was some letters that were received in the mailbox here, and so there was 3 letters. There was one to Lily, one to Jack, and one to Malaya. They were all from Nova Scotia Health Authority.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they were health cards or not, or something, but. Because I wasn't going to go look through the mail because that's a federal offense to go through someone's mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was the 3 letters and there was Jack and Lily's tablets, right? So there was a tablet each and there was 3 letters. Malaya was coming out of CPS, so I walked up. When she opened up her trunk, I seen her, I walked up and I put the 3 pieces of mail and the 2 tablets in their trunk. And I said, have a good day, Malaya, and walked away and then went in and had my visit with Meadow.
Mm-hmm. And she reported you for that.
Yeah, she reported me for that. But when I walked up to her, the odd thing was when she seen me, she smiled. So,
well,
I'm not sure what went on there, but I wasn't like...
She was probably absolutely terrified. I'll tell you what, if my ex would have come walking up behind me when I was at the car at the time when he was stalking me, I would have absolutely... SHIT myself. It's been terrifying because it got to a point with me, you know, I was actually checking the boot of my car, making sure he wasn't in it before I even drove off, because that's how bad it had got. So I suspect she was scared, and of course she smiled at him because she wouldn't want it. She'd be scared. But I bet what would have been going through her head. It's all computing. Are there any people around? Am I safe? Where's he just appeared from? Blah, de, blah, de, blah. But anyway, that's what I think. So I don't know. This is, if I had to give my views, which of course I will give my views, is I don't know about Daniel. I think maybe there is some, you know, there's so many odd things of why the very next day Malaya left. Without waiting to see what had happened to her kids. To me, it seems likely maybe she does know where they are. I do agree with that. Or it's possible. But why did she do that? And there's things about Daniel's story that don't add up, like the thing about him being asleep. He wouldn't have heard Malaya get up, but then he was awake enough to see Lily pop her head around the door. There's a lot of very strange things about this whole story from both sides. And I don't like the jokey way he is with everything. All this seems to be having fun with the police and this, that, and the other. Anyway, expect it'll all come out in the wash.
Extremely overly nice when I set the stuff down. I set it down and I said, "Have a good day, Malaya," just like that. So I wasn't like trying to be like overly nice or overly mean, right? It was kind of neutral.
And what did CPS tell you about that interaction?
CPS told me, if Malaya was felt really caught off guard by it and was she didn't like it when I walked up and handed her mail.
No.
But then why would she smile?
Why
right?
would, like that's not. Why would she smile? He's got some, it's like, oh, she must still like me because she smiled. She smiled because she's probably thinking, don't murder me, please. Sorry, that's just, I really resonate with that. And he's not self-aware. That's the other thing that's scary about stalkers, is they're not self-aware of how they're affecting somebody. And they'll say, well, I wasn't going to do anything. No, I wouldn't say anything. I was just checking up on them. You can never be in you can never underestimate what someone who's got stalking tendencies, the way their mind will work. Like, because to me, that I would have been like, oh, well, I think I startled her because she obviously wasn't expecting me to come up behind her. Could you imagine that? You've taken like a restraining order out against someone, and there you are at your car, and then suddenly they're there behind you, handing you your mail. And even things like "Have a nice day, Malaya," and that. No, sorry, but I could sense that off Daniel then, the stalkiness of it. You don't appear, and he liked it. And it's like, well, why did she smile? He'll be there thinking about, why did she smile? She must still like me. She must still love me. Or just because she smiled at him. They will over-insinuate any little crumb of that they can hang on to and know it from experience. And I'll tell you what, it's a very dangerous place to be. It's a very scary place to be when someone's stalking you like that. And it never comes to a good end. Ever. And anyway, I'm not going to go into what happened in my case in the end, but I put it this way, I consider myself very lucky to be alive. Very, very lucky.
Which adds a whole nother layer to that situation. But they just said, CPS mainly just said to me, if you have mail that comes for her, or you want to, there's something you have to give her, just give it to us and we'll give it to her.
Exactly.
Good deal.
So,
and what was the first time that she?
The first one was actually I parked too close to her. Like I parked near her in the parking lot.
Yeah.
How far were you parked from her?
Sometimes the only parking lot. I mean, the parking spot was right beside her, so I parked beside her.
Right next.
Right. I'm not gonna miss a visit because I don't have a place to park. And there's a parking spot right beside her, I'm going to take it.
Let's just think about that for a minute. So she's scared. He thinks it's quite funny as well. So she's scared of him. She's put a restraining order against him. And he goes and parks right next to her. Because he's not going to miss his visit with. Is he really saying there was no other parking space? Just what a coincidence. There was only one parking space that was right next to Malaya. I don't like the smirk on his face. I think this guy is thinking exactly perhaps what I'm thinking. That it's a bit creepy stalky, that, as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, Daniel. I mean, not podcast Daniel, the other Daniel, if you don't like me saying that, and maybe you didn't mean it like that, but let me tell you, you would frighten that, if you care anything about that woman, the mother of your child, and the mother of 2 missing children that you say you've had nothing to do with disappearing, you should need to respect that woman's space, because she's scared of you for whatever reason. I don't know why she's scared of you, and maybe it's unfounded, all the reasons, but it's not funny how you made her feel horrible, scared. That's not funny. And I can feel myself getting, because this resonates with me because I've been through it. You cannot do that. And, you know, I feel like you can't see why you can't do it. And that's even more scary, in my opinion.
Did you see her, or was it just your car was next to her?
No, I didn't see her, but I usually see her almost every time, right? Because I wait like an extra couple minutes before I go in sometimes, just so I don't, you know, I'm walking through the door and she's walking out through the door, and we don't have like a face-to-face, you know, interaction.
Understood.
Now, I've got to say, I would blame the social services there as well. Why are they putting them appointments one after the other? You know, they should be on different days, different times. They should never be at risk of bumping into each other, you know, for both their sakes. For Malaya's sake, she doesn't want to see him. For his sake, because he shouldn't be accused of stalking if he's not. So, you know, maybe maybe Malaya or he needs to talk to the Child Protection Service and say, don't put our appointments one after the other. You know, if that's what's been happening. Fancy what? His appointment finishes at 12 o'clock. Malaya's finishes at, let's say, 11 o'clock, and he starts at 12. It's ridiculous. They're likely to bump into each other, aren't they? So, yeah, it should be on different days, or at least at different times with a couple of hours in between.
Understood.
Because I'm not going to get a complaint sent against or put against me just for opening up the door for her, right?
Yeah.
I'm really not interested in that.
Yeah. No, those things can be nasty, man. You know, breakups.
But I will like air it out though. So by saying this too, there's no restraining orders against me. There's no peace bonds. There's nothing like that.
All right, no restraining orders.
That's good to know. That's good to know. There's no restrictions. You're a free man. You can go wherever you want, correct?
Yeah, I can go wherever I want. Some places I'm just not allowed to go to.
There you go. Well, Daniel.
So I can go wherever I want, but some places I'm not allowed to go to. So, okay. Oh God, this interviewer is so good, you know. I don't think I could interview someone like Daniel. No offense to Daniel, the stepfather, but he could easily, you know, like I got annoyed about him creeping up behind Malaya there, because when things resonate with me, I find it hard to be level. This guy's so much more calm. But, you know, you never know what triggers is, but we all have things that trigger our buttons. There's probably other things that I could listen to Daniel saying or anybody saying and would not trigger me, that might trigger him. You know, we've all got our things, haven't we, due to our life experiences.
I want to say thank you. Is there anything else that you want to get off your chest to everybody that's tuning in and watching? Anything you want to say to those that are watching?
I'm going to say, if anybody has information on the kids, contact your local police department, call RCMP, or you call Crime Stoppers if you have any tips or any information. I would just like people to do that. People say don't raise awareness. All these interviews I've been doing raises awareness. This is going to raise awareness. They know there's a lot of people that don't speak out for the kids, and I know I'm not the best voice for them because, you know what I mean? I'm in the spotlight and I'm attacked so much, but it doesn't stop me from speaking out. It doesn't stop me from all speaking out. I mean, I'll get attacked as much as it takes.
Yeah, I've got to say, I feel for him in one way, because whatever he does will be wrong. If he doesn't speak out, people are saying, why is he not saying anything? And then when he speaks out, people say, oh, he's speaking out too much. So, you know, now I've got over the stalkery thing. I'm coming down a bit more level again. You know, I do think he's in a very difficult position, because it's like whatever he does, just the fact is that those children's stepfather casts aspersions on him. And so, you know, whatever he does, if he speaks out, that'll be speaking out too much. If he doesn't speak out a bit, you never see him say anything. So he's always going to have shade thrown at him just because of his relationship with these children until it's found out what happened to them. So I do feel for him for that, because if he has got absolutely nothing to do with their disappearance, it's terrible what he's been through. But the other thing, now something that he doesn't look like he's not enjoying it though. That's the other thing I'd say. He's had all these laughs and jokes with the police and everything, so he doesn't seem like he's not enjoying it. Seems more like he is enjoying it to me, but I don't know him how he normally is. He could be, going through hell off the cameras. So,
yeah, and it's unfortunate because some of the attacks are relentless without any evidence of anything.
Yeah.
Oh, the amount of theories and speculation and conspiracy theories are just it's unreal.
Yeah.
And most of them don't hold water. Once you start breaking them down and you start going, all right, if this happened, then this would have had to have happened.
But the worst thing about all these conspiracy theories and speculation is they drive newcomers away from the case, right? Because I want to see newcomers come into the case because they have a fresh perspective and different angles that maybe weren't explored yet or not thought of, and that really stops them from trying to speak out, because they're going to be, they're going to get attacked as well or shot down just because they want to learn. They want to learn on the case, and maybe they have a perspective that's actually valid, and they never get a chance to share because they're afraid of criticism.
That's true. That's true.
I think that's a big thing.
No, it is. It is. When I've covered cases, I've been criticized by a lot for following the evidence, so to speak. In the Brian Coburn case, I followed the evidence that pointed to the right guy. Obviously, he pled guilty, and
following the evidence gets you, reviled into, you've got to follow the evidence. Sometimes people, they prefer a conspiracy theory. And when you say to them, like with Jay Slater or with Richard Allen or Nicola Bulley or any of these sort of mysterious cases that have, thrown up a lot of theories, and you say, where's the evidence for that? They go, I haven't got any evidence, but it's obvious, and things like that. So I agree with this podcaster. I really like this podcaster. You have to stick with the evidence. If it turns out later on that you were wrong and there was more things, well, that's fine. I don't care. I don't care if I'm going to be wrong in the future. All I care about is what I'm talking about now and what the family of whoever it is we're talking about, what they say. If they say leave it alone, leave it alone. Just leave people be if they're asking you to leave it be, or unless, you think they've actually murdered them or whatever. And then you need evidence for that. Even if you think someone has done something, you've got to have evidence. You can't just accuse people of red rum without any evidence whatsoever. You just can't. You wouldn't want it to happen to you or any of your loved ones. So, Daniel, all you could say about this Daniel's stepdad is, some of the things he says, you can think, that's a little bit well. But there is no evidence. And he's not been charged, and he's done a polygraph. You've got to look at those they are facts that you have to look at. So, the only thing for me there was, but I do think he's got a bit of stalkery behaviour, but to me it's weird, and it's not evidence, just that Malaya left that area the very next day. That strikes me as odd, because if my children would have gone missing, I wouldn't be the very next day hightailing it out of there. I'd want to be there when those children were found, because they would need their mum.
A lot of his supporters who started their stuff, and then even here, there's a lot of people who are focused in on some of the things that aren't relevant anymore. Like,
of course.
When we talked about the kids missing,
or they just completely make things up. Like,
people do.
There's nothing to do with drugs. There's nothing.
Podcasters make things up, don't they? These on the Tik-Tok, and they're still all at it. Say, they are just horrible people doing things like that. It's interesting what he says about. I didn't follow the Brian Kohlberger case too closely because to me it was always obvious it was him right from the beginning, and now I don't even. In fact, I'm sorry I mentioned his name now because, as you know, he's gone into the hellhole. If I ever refer to him, I just call him creepy weirdo. I think he loves the attention. I don't want to give these people attention. Someone like Brian. Oh God, nearly said it again. Someone like creepy weirdo. He loves the attention. His hero's Ted Bundy. So, you know, if he thinks he can become as notorious as Ted Bundy, which got no, it's never going to happen, is it? But, you know, it's like he's like superhero worships him. So every time anybody mentions him or highlights anything about him, talks about him, they're, you know, giving him that notoriety that he craves. That'll be all that'll be keeping him going now. So as far as I'm concerned, I only want to think of the victims. He's in the hellhole. He's gone. I won't care if I never heard his name again forever. Just let him rot in that prison. He deserves it. He's a horrible, evil man. But as Brian, the podcaster, says, you know, there were a lot of people. Sorry, Daniel, the podcaster says, a lot of people thought he was innocent, weren't they? You had all your creepy weirdo junkies, you know, out there. Anyway, but and I'm sure if he was, you know, vociferous in his condemnation of creepy weirdo, wasn't watching his. I've only just discovered his channel, unfortunately, but I'm sure he got a lot of stick for it. You know, sure he did.
Nothing to do with, you know what I mean? They didn't get lost in the woods, and I'm going to be the first one to ever say that. I don't think they're in the woods whatsoever.
No, I don't think they're.
I don't think they ever were. And I feel like a dummy for wasting the first day and a half searching my ass off for then my family and friends to sit me down and say to me, Daniel, we don't think they're in the woods. And then with all the resources poured in and all the searchers' time, and they got injuries, and the amount of helicopters and drones, dogs, the classified technology like the satellites, they didn't find anything.
Yeah, that's interesting that they didn't find a single thing outside of they found the boot prints and the blanket.
Yeah, but they still tell me that that's the only possible evidence.
Yeah.
And the blanket in the tree, there. I mean, I'll be the first to say that too. Investigators told me straight out when I asked them if it's planted, and they said yes.
Oh.
And then I didn't push any further for any more information after that.
And when was that? Was that like recent? Was that?
That was on the day that they came and the investigators came and got all Jack and Lily's belongings from the house. So that would have been like a little over 3.5 months in, closer to the 4th month.
There you go. So he says he asked the investigators if the blanket was planted, and they said yes. So who planted it? That's the question, isn't it? Who planted it?
Okay, so not too long.
And they know that for 100% because they reviewed all the bus footage, right, from the school buses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But that was the main thing I wanted to end it with, was just, you know, if you have any information, come forward. All the tips are going to be reviewed. I mean, there's probably the amount of tips, I mean, that they're actually telling you is nothing compared to, I mean, all the tips are, they have so many more tips than what they're actually telling you. We'll say it like that.
Interesting. Well,
I mean, I was told by investigators every time I change my profile picture on Facebook, they get hundreds of tips from that. Yeah. So they joked around and they told me, you know, I said, I'm going to change my Facebook profile picture. And they said, Daniel, we warn you about that. We're going to get so many tips. They just get pages and pages of tips from emails and, you know, phone calls and stuff like that.
And, you know, these folks that think they're doing some sort of help, they're not helping the cause by doing that. All that is
no, they're not. They said they get a lot of tips from the States too. So, I mean, if you live in the States, how are you calling in a tip that you've seen the kids or you know anything about the kids? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory that.
Oh, they're probably getting tips from everywhere. Now, after this, they'll be getting tips from Spain and the UK and Australia. Oh dear. But people, look, to be fair, people like to the tips. I know what he's saying, and people must drive the police mad, because I expect the police are watching his social media anyway. So every time he changes his profile picture, I expect the police are right on it. But anyway, but people are well-meaning, so we have to remember that people that ring in tips generally, I mean, you do get people who are just dafties, like weirdos who just want to inveigle themselves into the case. But probably 99% of people that phone in tips, it's because they want Jack and Lily to be found. So we have to remember that their heart might be in the right place, even though there actually might be, hurting the investigation. They're trying to help it.
You know what I mean? You may not have information that's valid.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, I want to thank you again for coming on and
yeah, this is the first interview I actually ever did, that's not actual news outlet. Well,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. If anything else pops up, maybe we can do something like this again. If they're found, hopefully we can.
Well, I can see why Daniel trusted the other Daniel to come on his channel to talk. So it's the first YouTube interview he's ever done. He's done news media outlets before.
Talk again about that as well. You have yourself a good night, Daniel. And thank you again. I for one believe that you guys that you're not involved. I don't think Janie's involved. I think this is a really, really unfortunate situation, and I hope the kids are found alive. I sincerely do.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I hope for that every day, and I hope investigators are coming close.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But they'll never tell me if they're coming close or not, right? So.
Well, no.
They'll
tell you when they got an answer.
If
they find something or somebody and they got an arrest or they got an answer, they'll let you know when they got the answer.
Yeah, they'll let you know.
Yeah, that's another thing. I want to actually explain this too. This is still considered a missing persons case because there is no charges laid, or there's no suspects that are in custody. So right now it's still a missing persons case, and it's not a criminal investigation.
Yeah. No, it's still, you're absolutely right. There's no evidence of a criminal offense for them.
I mean, at the end of the day, after Malaya, of course, and he and of course the Jack and Lily's biological dad, he's going to be the first person the police should tell when they do know something, if it doesn't involve him. He deserves to be, after what he's been through, he deserves to be, told as soon as possible. But yeah, they're not going to tell him until they know anything concrete, of course, so.
To have it into a criminal investigation. Well, Daniel, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Everybody, thank you for tuning in.
And so that was my interview with Daniel Martell, about an hour and 30 minutes or so. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the like button, subscribe button. I'm going to answer some of your questions and comments.
Okay, I think this is time for us to leave now. But yeah, please go over to DT's channel, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think as well. I think it was a very good interview. He's a good podcaster. He's very calm. I like that. I like the fact that he doesn't get involved in conspiracy theories. It's very hard to find a podcaster, who doesn't, unfortunately. So, yeah. And as he says, let me know what you think as well on my channel. So I've released this as a premiere. We'll have had comments all the way through. If you want, let me know. We'll do a live to talk about it one time. I'm going to release this as a premiere. But if you want to do a sort of an after type question and answer type thing, let me know and we'll do a live as well. But I just thought it was easier to go through the video, get it, comment on it, then present it as a premiere because we don't have the distractions of a live then. Present it as a premiere, but you can still have your opinions there. You can still put your views. So thank you so much for watching. Prayers for these two little ones. I hope Malaya has taken them away somewhere. I really do, because they'd be safe, wouldn't they, somewhere? Please let them be safe. I can't see that they've wandered off so far. You know, if they're in those woods and roundabout, something bad has happened to them. So the best case scenario is that for whatever reason, Malaya has got them away. Because we still don't know. One thing I don't think we still know, and wasn't asked, it was a question that wasn't asked. Why did Malaya leave the next day, and why are her and Daniel not speaking? You know, why? Don't know. So anyway, Lily and Jack, I hope you're okay. And, you know, along with little Gus and all the missing children and people, you know, when I say my prayers in the morning and at night, I include all the cases that we're covering, and I include all of you chatters out there. So I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you so much for caring about Jack and Lily. Thank you, Daniel, Daniel who gave the interview, of course. Thank you for letting us know a bit more about this case. I hope you're exonerated at some point. And to the other Daniel, the podcaster, thank you for the interview, and thank you for giving me permission to comment on it. Okay, I'll see you all really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Thank you. Bye.